am recording now. Hello, Sean.
Hello,
I
Sean.
have time.is up.
I do too.
Time.izzle. Skizzle and the whizzle.
Oh, calm down, Mike. Let's go at 15 and 20. 1520.
Get in there! Get in there!
That's right. All right. Let's go. You know what? I'm going to take my brain medicine real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay.
What
Vamp
time's
amongst
Tony?
yourselves.
What time's Tony?
Tony is last night on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Did you see that he was on there just kind of talking about it?
Tony Hawk was?
Yep.
Really? No, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
They talked about like the soundtracks and stuff. It was pretty good.
I think we're going to try to react to it, everyone. Hey, I moved the mic a little further away from me. Does that help?
It might.
Yeah. We'll see.
Lit fiction.
It did not help, Sean. Okay. I'll bring it back where I feel better.
Did you change stuff, Mike?
I just moved the mic further away from me.
Oh, okay. All right, let's fade to black. Spot this cast. Hey, everybody, it's Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. Welcome to the Giant Bombcast, episode 880. I'm your host, Jan Ochoa, and I want your soul. I want you to be mine. I feel the goosebumps, baby. I feel it in these arms. The mana is flowing through me because of these gentlemen sitting next to me virtually, next to my soul, and I need yours. Co-captain of the ship is also here. Jeff Jarrett.
Howdy, everybody. Are Canadians bad at counting down from 10, or are wrestling fans bad at counting down from 10?
Why was the counting down?
They could not keep in time during Elimination Chamber. They would start on time, and then by the end, they were saying like 1, and it would still be saying like 3 because they were counting too fast.
It's like when Cesaro would do the swing, and he would swing 5 times, and people would count to 20.
Yeah. People, they were just bad at counting. So it's wrestling fans.
It's wrestling fans. That's the problem. Yeah.
That's a whiteness thing, says Nikki in chat. Sorry.
Our man on the street, talking all things numbers. He's counting with the folks at home. He may or may not have figured out that count from Sesame Street is about counting.
No, let me be clear here. I knew he was about counting. I did not realize it was a Count Dracula. Like, that's Hanson explained the Count Dracula thing while we were watching Elimination Chamber, and I was like, "Oh, that's incredible." He counted. That's obvious.
Now, why are counts called counts?
It's like a honorific.
Yeah, but like for like, what are they in charge of?
Castles?
Oh, I bet I know. I bet I know what they're counting.
Go for it.
No,
probably
no,
taxes.
No. We haven't introduced you yet.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, you can't. I'm pretty sure it would. I'm just guessing, honestly. The county? Are they in charge of a county? Like a count, like in the way that a duke is in charge of a duchy?
Is it a wine thing?
And our own Travis Scott, he's got the Rage Sage. The Rock is bringing him out at WrestleMania. He's going to punch Cody Rhodes a little too hard in the head. Mike Minotti.
It's still real to me. Damn it. Hello, it's me. It's Mike Minotti. Hello.
Tell me about counts. Why do you think counts are counts?
Well, I mean, count is definitely just like another word for a lord or something like that. So,
of a manor, of a castle, right?
What? Well, yeah, but why do they have a castle?
They're rich.
Okay, you could just have a castle because you're rich.
Yeah.
Often though, you're given it by the government. in the olden times, and it's because you are the lord of that area and you have governmental responsibilities and report to the king.
I was thinking about castles a lot yesterday because Grubb kept talking about entrapment.
Sure.
Wait, is there a castle in Entrapment?
Oh yeah, they're sneaking into a castle with lasers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do y'all think?
Oh, is that the butt laser movie?
It's the butt laser. It is the. If you say what is the butt laser movie on like Jeopardy, the answer is what is Entrapment.
I bet if you Google butt laser movie,
do it.
I'm certain Entrapment.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do.
All right,
There's
no way it's not just image search butt laser movie. I know exactly what you're saying.
Movie. Oh god, Human Centipede came up real first
Never
somehow.
saw it.
It's
I don't
mostly,
think I wanna
it's
see
mostly
that.
Human Centipede. Are there lasers
What?
in that movie?
Okay, well, I suppose I did not count the Human Centipede.
What if
factor.
you added in quotes Catherine Zeta-Jones? Would that
Well,
narrow it down?
I think that is going to do it.
Okay. Was she in Human Centipede? I have not seen it.
No.
Okay.
No. Man, what a weird movie. I watched a flick last night where it's called The Gorge. And Miles
with
Teller
Kilometer Teller, yeah.
Yes. Kilometer Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy, they're guarding a gorge, and it's bad stuff in the gorge. It was one of those movies.
Okay.
You said gorge, but I kept hearing in my brain gourd. I'm like, what do you mean they're guarding like a pumpkin?
Yeah,
like,
they're guarding
what?
like just some squash.
Is
I enjoyed that more, to be honest.
Is Linus gonna come and like expect gifts from it or something? What's the issue?
Gourd is a good word, right?
Gourd.
That's a fun gourd.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a top 10 word, maybe.
Just rounded sound.
You add into it, then you have the commissioner from Batman.
Gourd. Hey, how many syllables are in the word gourd?
One.
One.
One?
Yes.
Gourd. Just one. Just
Gourd.
one. Gourd. That
This is
open
not going to
shut.
be a thing.
Open
it's one
shut.
syllable.
Open shut.
I've thought way too much about the oil one.
The oil one is two.
Yes.
Fire.
It's two.
Okay, fire
Two.
might be two.
In a lot of
Oh,
places it's
fire.
one, but
It's two.
it's two the way I say it. It's two.
Because if I were to yell fire, that's two. That's definitely two syllables.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How's everyone doing? How's everyone going? It's a Tuesday. It's a Jeff Grubb. It's very dark where you're at.
Yeah, my Elgato key lights power supply tried to kill me. I saw him
It
unplugged it
shock
from the
you?
wall.
What do you mean kill you?
Well, it just got very, very, very hot and stopped
Oh.
working. So I'm assuming something in there went bad. And after it stopped working, it didn't stop getting hot. So I'm like, oh, eventually this thing is going to just catch on fire. So I pulled it out of the wall, and we're good now, safe. But it's dark and I'm scared.
Incredible that there's not just a switch to turn it on.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole other thing, right? Where it's like there is a switch to turn it on, but then it turns off immediately until you then go to a computer.
Yeah, it's really stupid.
Oh,
I
that sucks.
I bought a pizza steal yesterday, and then I never felt more swindled in my life that this is just like a piece of metal that I'm going
pizza
to
So
take.
you said
Steal?
Steely, like the thing in Indiana Jones he was finding.
Oh, it's a cooking thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
cooking thing.
I bought the newest. Oh, sorry, Jen, go ahead.
No, please. I want to hear.
I was just saying, I caught on to the latest trend I learned about in culinary arts from Mike Minotti, the cast iron pan.
Oh, that's a fad. That's
Mike
gonna
calls
pass.
it, the new trendy thing, cast iron.
I forgot I said that. I was like, what are you talking about?
You said that to a professional chef, and he roundly mocked you for it.
No, all I was saying was that they were getting like really glazed up for a bit there. Of course, cast iron pans are always going to be a thing.
Mike. It's not glazing. You wouldn't glaze
No.
it.
Yeah, you don't
Right.
want to
Yeah.
season
Come
it
on.
actually.
Oh,
yeah.
I've been learning about the seasoning and stuff. Yeah, because now I've been doing all the cooking stuff, and I always sous vide the chicken, and they're like, "Oh, you can sear it." And I was like, "That seems like a whole lot to do just to give it a texture."
You're just eating unseared
I
chicken.
was, and it's fine. It's not bad, but I am searing it now. I don't sear it if I'm like putting them into tacos or something like that. If I'm just like shredding it up, I don't sear it.
Sure.
But I've started searing it with some canola oil and stuff in a cast iron pan before I make it. I made some Parmesan green beans
Look
last
at that.
night.
You
Was
unlocked
it-
a new oil.
Wait,
Was
what?
it- Sorry, go ahead, Jen.
No, you unlocked a new oil, Dan. First it was just olive, then avocado. Now you're a canola.
Well, no, because olive has a lower smoke point. So the thing is,
Who
it
the
might
fuck are
burn.
you?
Well,
It's true. That's actually right.
What have you done?
my curiosity knows no bounds, Jan. You should know
Oh, that's
this.
what they say.
Yeah.
You have a lot of history, like seasoning things. You had that shoebox you seasoned the hell out of.
That's true.
So,
Yeah, I just
yeah.
can afford a cast iron pan now. The hot new stuff.
That chicken you weren't searing, did it have the skin on still?
I do boneless, skinless.
Okay, then that's fine.
Yep.
If you weren't searing skin on chicken, that would be crazy.
Oh, no. I haven't done that. I'm sure it's better with skin on, but it's also a lot more calories and stuff.
Yeah, I never get the skin on one, and everyone's like, the skin's the best part. I'm like, maybe you're right. It's also the hardest part to cook, and like the part that's maybe not as healthy for you, anyways.
Here's what you do, boys. You get the skin chicken breast, and you rip the skin off. You throw the skin in an air fryer.
You're making crackling.
Make your own little
good.
chicken skins.
You're making some crackling.
Is that what crackling is? Is crackling just like fried animal skin?
I think so, for the most part.
Sure.
I mean, don't quote me on that.
I did get an ad for Buc-ee's. I don't think there's any Buc-ee's around me, and they have they just sell like the fried chicken skins. And that's just the shoot chicken skins, right?
It's just chicken skin fried. I mean, pork rinds is just fried,
right?
Pig skin.
Yeah.
I saw a story about Buc-ee's today, Jeff. Apparently, they were going to build the first one here later this year, and now it got moved back to 2026. Now, I don't know where in Ohio. Right. I hope near me, because I went to the new Loves that they opened up here, and it was like I had an amazing time there. I almost wished I was a trucker. The vibes were so good in there.
Good. Yeah. I'm like, I walk into a place like Loves, and I go to the bathroom, and then I see the other hallway that's like, those showers, really clean showers.
Yeah.
I want to take a shower at a gas station. I don't know why I think that, but I really do.
There's like a PA system saying when like number 44, it's your turn to use the shower. I'm like, you're so lucky.
I think there is a novelty to like showering in a place that you normally don't. Like I feel that way in like airport lounges. Like when I was flying back from Tokyo, I was there like 4 hours early, and there were just like showers in the lounge. And I was like, I just want to take a shower at the airport before I get on this long flight.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And like some planes and stuff, if you're depending on like what class and stuff, you can shower. Like each passenger can like get one shower during the flight. Yeah, I've never done that, but yeah.
I think it's like
plane shower.
The A380s and the 787 kind of have that. Yeah.
I don't know if I want a plane shower.
That's a lot of water that has to be on the plane to shower multiple people.
They limit it by time, and again, each person only gets one, and obviously not everyone does it. So,
what if like we just banked our time together?
That might be frowned upon too.
Listen,
who? If we're in first class,
cleanliness is next to godliness.
Are you saying we should shower together?
Yes.
Well,
I don't want to.
If you guys, the gas station is like the new meta. Have you guys been to a Walmart recently?
Yeah.
Shockingly, no.
I don't have any near me.
Okay, I went into the Walmart the other day, and the first thing you're greeted with now is a small, it's basically a gas station inside a Walmart. It is like a quick convenience where it's like several rows of energy drinks, water, Gatorade, snacks, the kind of stuff you would see in a gas station. And I'm like, this rules. I'm so excited.
Store in a store?
Yeah, I mean, it just feels that way. It feels like they took the aisles from a gas station and copied and pasted it inside of a Walmart.
Just putting all the essentials right away, right?
Do they have dedicated
like
checkout? Is it like a dedicated checkout or like self-service?
No,
stuff?
but it's right next to the self checkout. So it's
checkout's
just
never too far from the entrance anyway.
It's adjacent to that, yeah. So it was just like, and this is like psychology. Apparently, men really like gas stations, so I think they're just like, we're going to put this here for them, so they can like have the maybe spend a little bit more money.
Remember how like the entertainment sections of like the Walmarts and Targets used to kind of be walled gardens, right? Like it was kind of a store in the store. You can only go in and out one way, and there was a separate checkout for it also. Like they made that
game. Yeah,
they made that feel real special. You don't remember it, Jan?
No, I don't have a Walmart near me.
Well, it's not just Walmart. Like I feel like Target had that. Toys R Us had the whole different thing where it was just a weird game window.
Yeah. Toys R Us. For sure. I had that little, the tickets.
Oh, Menotti, when we went to the Toys R Us here at the Mall of America, they didn't have that, but it seems like they had no physical games.
They had no
whatsoever.
video games. Like they were only like, we can't sell video games anymore. Nobody buys video games at stores. We just have to sell shoot toys because you can't download Lego yet.
That's right.
Hey, a question for y'all. I went to since we're talking about big box stores, I went to a Costco over the weekend.
Yeah.
And
Love
say
Costco. Hey, we're Costco guys here.
Oh yeah,
I've never been to a Costco.
Double chocolate cookie chunks.
Chocolate chunk, double chip or something.
Double chunk chocolate cookie.
And say you are the person scanning the items, right? Like generally at a Costco, you'll load some items on the conveyor belt, and then you put the cart behind the cashier, and they'll like scan the items, right?
Yep.
What would you do if there's just a child that won't move and is still in the cart, but there are items covering the child?
Wait. Say this again?
you are a
I'm
Costco
working at
cashier,
Costco. I got the beeper. I'm okay.
right? And then
Yeah.
like there's a bunch of items in a cart
In the
that are
basket
covering a
section.
child that will not move.
Wait, the items are covering the child, or the child is covering the items, or a little
The
bit of both?
items are covering the child
Wait, and the child's not moving?
because the child is on an iPad.
Oh,
that barely
calling
counts as a
protective
person.
services. Oh my God. Yes, please let this focus. This sounds insane. What the
It's like a
fuck?
fort.
I mean,
That's a baby under there?
No, that's
Fine.
like a 6-year-old.
What
wait,
the
how?
fuck?
Where's this 6-year-old's head?
Is it underneath the toilet paper?
There.
Yeah.
Oh my
There.
God!
Oh,
There's
God.
the iPad.
I mean,
Over there.
listen, we all love to be crushed. I mean, come on,
Yeah, I
So-
get it.
I get it.
You know, I've never understood you two more than just now.
I was like, this is just normal Ohio stuff to me.
Yeah,
you
right.
never been. No,
Yeah,
Of course, Jan, I never been to a Walmart is shocked to
yeah.
see
Never
this.
thrown a kid into a basket in a cart and just like let
Wow.
whatever
Sorry.
happens happens.
The coastal
is this
elite in
like-
me.
Is this like, because like I used to be the one to always, like, if we were going to the bar and we had a full car in college, I was always the one to be like, I'll ride in the trunk. And I would just get like in the trunk, shut it. And it was just a fun little, like, cozy, like, this is my little trunk spot. Is it like that feeling? Like anti-claustrophobia?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
I definitely like recently been like I'm gonna pull the blanket around me pretty tight and get like really tight. I think it's kind of like that, just like outside pressure pushing in on you instead of your
But I
body
think-
always pushing out.
I do think kids have gotten like really bad at like walking around in
Stalking,
crowded
yeah.
spaces. Like my brother's 9-year-olds, even they're 9. He's like, I can't just let them walk around in a Target still. They just trip all over themselves and bump into things. They still can't handle it.
Yeah,
I think we should
Still.
be dancing more as a society. I think this would solve a lot of more things.
We gotta
I
get
think-
a footloose going up in here.
Yeah, let's add a little bit of whimsy. Speaking about whimsy, you know what's whimsical?
James.
Yes, Mike Minotti. Games are
I got it.
whimsical.
I knew it.
Why? Let's see
got
when.
Got it in one.
Can you imagine if I said something like, "No, ribbon dancing would be." It is whimsical. So
Yeah.
video games. Mike Minotti, you win the ability to talk about the first game today, and that is we've talked about this a lot on this website actually. The Thing Remastered.
I played through my punishment from one Jeff Grubb, who is the superior hole digger.
I'm a
Kind of
whole
the sup-
son.
kind of the superior giant mole dodger, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
fair.
you know, whatever the reason, he won. So he had all of us play the Thing Remastered. I played through it in 2 settings. It's nice to have a good 2-setting game, by the way. But yeah, this was originally PS2, original Xbox era, kind of mix of an action game with survival horror. Got remastered by Night Dive recently. We talked about it a bit, but I really did enjoy this game. I have so much love for that era anyways. And you know, Dan, it's kind of like when I was watching you play PsyOps yesterday on Riker's Roulette. I love these PS2 era games that are doing something pretty interesting that even games today are still kind of trying to do maybe as well, or maybe even just half as well. And the thing has some interesting AI squadron stuff with people freaking out and worrying like, oh, the thing's going to get me. So you have to calm them down by giving them a weapon or giving them a shot of adrenaline.
Giving yourself a blood test to show that you're not the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like all that stuff is really neat. And there are some areas where it was kind of puzzly. Like there's this one level where you get captured and you lose all your guns, and there's a very specific sequence you sort of need to do of, okay, I got to dodge the thing and get the medic, and then dodge the thing again and go to this other place, and then
I
the
locked
medic's
the
going to use
thing in a
his
room.
gun.
I lured the thing into the medic room and locked him
smart.
in there so I didn't have to mess. I sucked at that part. There's a lot of stealth involved there.
That was
yeah.
definitely the hardest part of the game, to be
Yes.
clear. Like that took me the longest time.
Would this
For
be
sure.
the weirdest game to race in?
Oh yeah,
It would be a weird one.
it
Yeah.
would
Just-
be a very weird.
I also
one.
kind of want to see how all 4 of us would problem solve like the thing at the same time.
I feel like a weirder game, maybe like Papers, Please would be a weird race game.
I mean, aside from that one situation, you do mostly just shoot the thing. Like the game's pretty generous with ammo and things like that. It's like the survival horror element of it. It's not like a Resident Evil or a classic Resident Evil, right? Sometimes it is more about your squad and just telling them what to do. It is funny, like because just like in one of these games, your squad members never survive very long. either they'll get turned into a thing. Like, you're supposed to test them to see if they're the thing sometimes if you want to. I kind of never really bothered with that much because, like, they're still useful if they're a human pretending to be a thing. And once they turn into a thing, it's pretty easy to kill them real quick then.
Yeah, I just kept them around until they freaked out, and then I just flamethrowered them.
It's like, use your time is done. You served your
Yes.
We talked about the thing remastered a bunch in during Revengeance. I have a question for you two, and Grub, you as well. What developer or studio would you trust with a game like The Thing? Now,
you know what? I know this is a lofty one, but like looking at what Rockstar did with like the Warriors, where it's like the Rockstar is obviously a big team that has a lot of reverence for movies and music and things like that. And I feel like I would trust them if they cared enough to make a game based on a movie. They're gonna do it right. Like the Warriors game was like that's kind of what you would want a Warriors game to be like. So maybe them.
Okay.
I mean, obviously the Alien Isolation people at Creative Assembly could do something there, right?
Probably Randy Pitchford and the Alien Colonials Marines team.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're right. I had the wrong Alien game.
Yeah, that wrong one. You look like a real asshole right
I look
now.
like a big stupid dum-dum.
Who's the Saber Interactive? Is kind of I think a realistic one that I think would be pretty good at this.
They doing that John Carpenter game?
They're doing a bunch of games. They might be.
They're doing a Jurassic Park game that we haven't seen since they announced it, but it looks really cool in the announcement.
It looked neat. Yes.
Yeah,
they did Space Marine and Evil Dead the game and all that stuff. Yeah.
Was it Toxic Commando or something? The Carpenter one, which Carpenter like he does his likeness appears in the game.
Right.
So it was so clear that this game was made by people who understood and cared about the film because I feel like, especially back in those days, there's so many just licenses that just got sold to Acclaim or whoever, which we'll talk about in a bit. And then it's just like, okay, here's just like it's got the likeness or just the general plot points. But like this one, it's like, okay, they are clearly trying to incorporate the distrust and the testing and all that stuff from the movies. So I like
that. It was trying things, and a lot of it like worked. Like some of it, like nothing didn't work. Some of it was maybe just not as consequential as it could have been, but and the vibes were very good, especially early on when you are like in those locations straight from the movie. I'm like, yeah, this feels like The Thing. This is awesome.
Yep. Yeah, it was a fun one.
I kind of look forward to the next punishment, and maybe and I'm not kink shaming there if you are too at home. Jeff Grubb, you talked about this a little bit yesterday on Game Mess Morning, soon to be renamed. But I'm very curious to hear more about Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Yeah, I think it's really good. It's a lot of fun. They know what they have and they focus on that and they make all that stuff as good as possible. That being really snappy, fun combat that has a lot going on, and all the stuff going on doesn't feel like too much. It all just feels like complementary to one another. So that's like you'll get into combat and you'll start off and you'll be faced with these sort of robotic looking enemies that have giant like triangles for heads and there's glass in the middle and you're like, well, that looks vulnerable. So there is a real-time component to this combat that is mostly turn-based, and that real-time element is you can just aim and shoot with a magic gun. And so you shoot them right in the middle of their triangle, and that does massive damage. That sets them up for now you can like, they've been softened up. So now, but that uses action points. So then you want to go over to your attack, use your normal attack that builds up action points, and then you get to your spells. There's spells that use a little bit of action points, and then there's some that will use all of your action points. So you kind of want to like do this flow of going back and forth between these various things.
Yeah, that sounds so hot.
I think turn-based JRPG fans are gonna be very horny for this one.
Yeah,
it is.
It looks
Even
real good.
I am interested because it's like the ones I have been able to get in are the ones that have that actual component of timing and dodging, like Paper Mario, Mario and Luigi, that type of stuff. And I watched Tam and Lucy's video on GameSpot about this, and just seeing you actually aim with the gun and just the way the back and forth looked really snappy and stylish.
So snappy.
I think I'm going to give this a real shot. Yeah.
I think there's a chance, like, Dan, I think the things you'll be turned off by is it's so over dramatic in the way that it presents itself as like a fantasy game. But
does it ask him if metaphors can be reality in the beginning?
It does. I mean, it doesn't do stuff like that, but like everyone's very dour and serious because there's people dying and there's dead bodies everywhere and stuff like that. It is dour and serious, but it's just it's got theater kid energy, and I think that's in parentheses positive. And that's not in terms of the way like the story is told. It's just the way that the characters move and animate. But it's like, I don't know, that lends into the snappiness of it, because it's just everyone moves, and you feel like when you press a button, stuff happens. Like the character will do this flare, this move to be like, I'm opening up the menu, and it just looks pretty neat.
Okay.
But I think that you could see the seams, and those seams are you're going down corridors. In my brain, I've initially went to like Final Fantasy 13, but apparently people say it's much more like Final Fantasy 10.
Yeah, but those are the two more linear like Final Fantasy games, and there is a difference. Final Fantasy 13 is just like straight up walk down the corridors and fight and watch cutscenes for the most part. 10 has like some branching paths, and you go to a town and whatnot still. Yes, like there's more to it with 10 for sure in terms of the linearity.
It definitely, I felt very corridory to me early on, and then kind of maybe there's some branches later on, but that is. I think this is a good choice because they have a limited budget. This isn't a team that has all the money in the world. And so they're doing the thing of, okay, we can make it big and open and expansive and great looking, and it'll take a lot of time and cost a lot of money. It's like, well, okay, instead, let's just make these corridors where clearly if you were to look over that hill right there, there would be nothing. The game would just be nothingness. So let's just make this corridor look really nice, give you a few like small little nooks and crannies to explore here and there, and then get you back into the combat, which I think is the star of the show, and it's a ton of fun. So, yeah, I think people are really going to latch on to this if they can get into the combat, and I think most people actually will be able to. And like, yeah, the timing on the dodges and the parries, like once I started getting into that, it gives you multiple ways of understanding what the enemy is going to do. It like obviously it's animated, like, hey, I'm lining up for an attack, but the enemy itself will make some sound effects to kind of let you know they're building up to attack, and the music also lines up with that. So nice. Subconsciously, I got very good at like lining up parries to the point where I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a high risk, high reward. But boy, when you nail them, it feels incredible. You do damage, of course, in response to that because it is a parry. And then the music is phenomenal. I think the presentation is top notch. It just has a lot of extra flair to it. That is, I in my heart, I'm like, I am charmed by this, even if I think it is a bit much.
It looks so dang cool, and if more fantasy looked like this, I think I'd be into Wizards more.
Yeah, sure.
I am into Wizards, and I am into JRPGs or turn-based RPGs or what have you, and I am so excited for this one. It had that incredible showing at that Xbox event we had earlier in the year, and ever since then, it's kind of become one of my most anticipated games of the year. Like last year we had Metaphor, ReFantazia is this really big JRPG experience, and I feel like this is maybe going to fill up a similar slot in a lot of ways. Everything Jeff is saying sounds good to me.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that Squeenix kind of fumbled the bag with. Well, I enjoyed Final Fantasy 16, but the wider Final Fantasy 16 or Final Fantasy audience didn't quite mesh well with it. I wonder if this might eat its lunch.
I think my opinion, playing this was definitely like, this is, I think, the thing that most Final Fantasy fans are asking for from Square Enix right in this moment, because when Square Enix tries these other things, trying to get away from the criticisms of Final Fantasy 13, I think that they're like, oh, you threw the baby out with the bathwater. And this game feels like, no, actually just make the stuff you were doing as good as possible, look as cool as possible, and make the combat kind of exquisite to engage with. And you have what we want from Final Fantasy. So I think this will inform a lot of the criticism going forward for Final Fantasy, and kind of like let people voice, hey, Square Enix, this is what we want, at least for one of your games. It doesn't have to be every Final Fantasy game, but at least one should play a lot more like this.
Greg, what was the last turn-based RPG you remember kind of digging?
I mean, obviously I liked Infinite Wealth. A ton.
Okay. Right.
But I like turn-based combat. That's never been my issue with RPGs for sure.
Okay.
I like turn-based combat a lot.
Yeah, you were kind of getting into Dragon Quest 11. I think you fell off.
Yeah, Dragon Quest 11. Yeah, I played like a good 15 hours of that. That was now must be, how old is Addy? Because I played it on my
yeah, it's a bit. Oh, it was like
6 or 7 years or something like that. Yeah,
2017, something like that. I'm looking at like gameplay of the combat here. It looks so freaking good. It's just it does look like a mix of like Persona 5 with Final Fantasy 10, and maybe some Legend of Dragoon in there a little bit. I don't know.
I mean, it's yeah. I again, the look is so interesting. I've said this elsewhere, but I'll just repeat it for this podcast. That the visuals, because of the motion capture of the and that popping off every time you press any button, it does look like just real people on a stage putting on a performance. And then there's Persona 5 menus layered on top of them, like as if that were possible, that's what it looks like. And that is a really cool effect. It gives it this real sense of things are popping off the screen. A part of that, I think, is that the menus are 3D rendered, and so that they exist in the world as far as like the lighting and the physics are concerned and things like that. So you just get this sense that this space is magical and that you are reaching into the screen and kind of making these decisions. It's really, really working for me.
Yeah, part of the combat also reminds me of Legend of Legaia
Right.
for the PS1.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I get Legend of Dragoon and Legend of Legaia mixed up, but they're kind of similar in some ways. Not just because they both have the word legend in it. Legaia was the one where you like almost did like fighting game
combo,
button combos. Yeah.
I'm all for other developers taking on like the Persona formula and the Final Fantasy formula and spinning it on its head, because this looks really freaking sweet. When is this coming out?
In a month. I think it's the end of April-ish.
Holy shit! I'm so excited for this.
Greg, were you able to get any inkling of what the story is like and why it's called Clair Obscur?
Yeah. This is not spoiler. It is the setup to the game. Every year, a witch or something called the painter, something like that, the paintress, I think. She paints a number, and that number represents everyone of that age, and they will die. So there is an expedition sent out to stop this witch and kill her, I believe to kill her, so that this will stop happening. I think Expedition 33 might be called Expedition 33 because everyone is 33 years old and they're going out to stop them. I think that's what it is.
No,
I'm 33.
Yeah, Jan, it's going to be pretty rough out there for you.
Yeah.
And the tone of the game is, fantasy for sure, very gruesome early on. There are piles of dead bodies in a room with like heavy red light, just to let you know, yes, that is blood everywhere that you're seeing. And the character, you could tell, is like having this is traumatic for him, and he's like silent because he can't talk. And, then the friend comes along. It's like, no, you got to pick yourself up and let's get back to battle. And it kind of gets back to the tone of, yay, we're having fights a little bit. But in those moments of the cutscene, it is heavily produced, very, very impressive looking CGI, cool moments, a lot of good acting, really good performances. I think this is one of the Ben Starr games. His friends are in there too. Everyone's killing it. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very emotional kind of game in terms of the story.
Is this going to be like the first JRPG ever where there's no party members under the age of 30?
I don't know.
Infinite Wealth, right?
Oh, you're right. The Yakuza.
Wow.
Good call.
Infinite Wealth. How old was the girl? I think she was a little bit younger. She would have been in the 20s.
Late 20s.
Get her out of here then.
Yeah, I don't know, Mike. There's definitely some older characters. I don't know if I've seen any teens.
If it was a real JRPG, they would be like 36, and everybody would call him old man. And they'd be acting like he's on his last leg.
Okay, Daredevil. Charlie Cox is in the game.
Cool.
All right.
Is that today or something? Isn't the new Daredevil show?
Yeah, new Daredevil.
I believe so.
Yeah, we'll see if I watch it.
Speaking about fantasy settings, I briefly checked out Knights in Tight Spaces.
Oh, right. I'm
It's
glad
a
you did this.
sequel to Fights in Tight Spaces, and I never checked out the original game. I feel like it'd be up my alley because it's like loosely tiles, loosely tactics, and I really wish that I enjoyed this game more. It is you have a small map, and it is run based. It's a roguelike, so you have like the branching path of where to go, whether or not you want to take on a combat mission, visit a blacksmith to upgrade your cards, or just some miscellaneous random chance encounters, unlock some treasure, heal up, recruit new party members, etc. But like the flow of the combat, I'm not really clicking with just yet. And I don't know if that's because I'm kind of growing fatigued with card-based games. So how it works is you start with one character, and you and generally your objective is to just eliminate all the other enemies. You have a mana meter that is shared once you unlock more characters, and the different character archetypes that you start with. You have your warrior, you have a rogue, and a hunter, which is uses a bow and arrow. But for some reason, I don't know if it's like the tiles aren't clicky enough for me. Maybe it's too soft tiles for my taste, or maybe the overall art style. But I'm not digging this as much, even compared to the TMNT Tactics demo from last week, because it just feels a little slow for the tight space that I'm in. And even when I did unlock and had a full party of 3 players or 3 party members, it just didn't feel like it was clicking off and popping off in the way that I wanted it to. Despite like tight being in the title, it didn't feel like a tight experience. Like it just made me long for something that was snappy, like Tactical Breach Wizards from last year, and just made me want to circle back to something like Into the Breach. Maybe I'll give it some more time, but even some of the auto attacks where you'll have a party member that is next to an enemy and it's supposed to auto attack. None of that felt like the sequences were coming off how I wanted them to. And the big thing in tactics games at the moment, or this is the gas station meta, is you are kind of operating on a map in a void, so you can kind of push people off the map. And I could just never get that position wise to work, because your movement is tied to one of your cards. And I think that might be where I took an issue with, because positionality or positioning huge in like tactics games, and the fact that that is tied to one of my mana points kind of was obscuring my own tacticking with the game. I wish I liked it more, but maybe it's because it's a fantasy game. Maybe I don't like knights, perhaps.
Maybe. I enjoyed fights in tight spaces, but I did not fall in love with it. And this sounds pretty similar. Maybe I'll give it a shot and see.
Yeah. There's
I know Alex Navarro loved fights in tight spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was like a combo system that I couldn't quite, or a momentum system I couldn't quite wrap my head around. And then just some of the UI stuff just felt a little clunkier than it had to be. And I feel like, switching between party members has just been so streamlined in other games that the way it was handled in Knights in Tight Spaces just felt clunky. Speaking about knights, they're generally knights in and cavemen and war reenactments and other big dioramas in museums. And Mike Minotti, you've been spending your time at a museum yourself.
Bunch of museums, all of my museums, and 2 Point Museum. I talked about this game a bit. Today's the official release date. There's like a lot of big games right now, big games coming out, and a lot of very good ones. I'm enjoying them, but this 2 Point Museum is my game. I am playing a ton of this and just having so much fun. Almost like getting up in the morning and be like, well, this is a day I'll be able to play more 2 Point Museum, and being happy about it.
Reason to live.
Yeah, we go use some of those these days, right? Gosh, I don't know. It's just so engaging. It's a management sim, and sometimes in those, maybe you have a lot of downtime. You're just waiting for things to kind of happen. But there's always something you can be doing, some little min-maxing thing, reorganizing the museum, or just being like, well, I should decorate the security room so that when like the security supervisor comes in, maybe I'll get a little bonus because he's really impressed that I put up some extra security screens in there. It's just the way that you do have multiple museums. So I have my main kind of natural history museum and an aquarium and the space museum. And it's always like, hey, right now to like get your next big kind of progression thing, get 3 stars in every museum. So I'll go to this museum for a bit, then I'll go to the different one, and each one is kind of its own self-contained campaigns. Just the variety and the pacing there feels fantastic. So yeah, I'm just liking this one a lot. I think I'm trying to get Jeff maybe to check it out tomorrow. I don't know if you're still down for that, Jeff.
Yeah, it's the plan right now. I think the only thing I was thinking maybe might replace it is Thug Pro, but no, I'm gonna play this because you are so hot on it. I want to give it a shot.
Yeah, I want
Grubs gimmicks.
Yeah, for Grubs gimmicks.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's such the game like just eases you into the game so quickly. It's not a boring tutorial process. You do just start playing the game. You get like tool tips and some things explaining the systems, but it's not bogged down in that stuff at all.
Lovely.
Is this something, the kind of thing that eventually could work really well on like iPad? Because like, this is a game I think I want to just like have with me all the time or something like that.
I'm not sure.
Or how about like even like Steam Deck?
Steam Deck? No, I think it works on. I think it has console control, so Steam Deck, I bet, probably completely fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, like 2 Point Campus came out on Switch, so console.
Okay.
So,
then they probably figured it out. And
this one probably.
I played all of Civ 7 on Steam Deck, so I can.
Yeah, this game's coming out for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series XS. So yeah, it has console control. So there you go.
Yeah, in my brain, these games like this and like Civ, things like that were traditionally PC. I'm like, well, I just got to get on the PC for that. But like they figured out console controls a long time ago, so I should just get on board with that.
Yeah, I've always been curious about these 2 Point games. I was interested in 2 Point Campus, but never actually checked it out. So
I never checked out the other ones either. Now, hospitals sound stressful. I don't want to run a hospital. Like, what am I going to do with all the corpses? But 2 Point Campus, I think
let the clowns eat them.
Right.
I feel calmer in a hospital than I do a campus or a museum.
Really? I mean, I do not. I don't.
I would
Why?
if I could just live in a hospital, I would do that.
What stresses you out about a museum?
And nothing stresses me out about it. It's just a hospital is just like I'm safe. You know? So it's like it's the opposite of stress as a hospital. Like this is an anxiety thing. This is an anxiety thing where it's like, oh God, if something goes horribly wrong, I'm in the right place for it, you know?
I guess.
Fair. I don't want to give you reasons to be anxious of a hospital, so I'll just be quiet.
Yeah, I would live in a hospital.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
I don't want to go down this thought train with you.
You can.
I can't descend down this. So instead, I'm going to go to Jeff Grubb and go to Descenders next.
Yeah. So one game I didn't put on the list was 1080, which I beat last night. I went through normal, hard, and an expert, and so I was like, man, snowboarding games rule, but they were better when it was just 1080 and at like SSX, like those were the arcadey and the sort of arcadey sim that 1080 is. And every time I try to look into a new snowboarding game, they never quite get it right for what I'm looking for. It's either not enough SSX or not enough 1080. So Descenders Next is from the company that did Descenders, which is that downhill bicycle BMX game. It was very good. Like they nailed that. That was a lot of fun. This kind of takes that idea and applies it to snowboarding. And the real analog here is it's much more like Skate for snowboarding. So it's dual analog control for all the motions you're doing. So left controls basically your feet, how you maneuver the snowboard. And the right kind of controls your hips and whether or not you sort of like want to carve into the snow really hard by like hitting both left on both analog sticks at the same time. And that's a cool feeling. Like that really gets the idea of what it's like to snowboard, which is kind of what I want from these games. It's why I like 1080 so much. And so when you are going to do an ollie off of a ramp, you need to just kind of hold down on the right stick, and that causes you to scrunch down. You get more speed, and then you push up on it to do a full jump off the top, and that feels really good. And then use the left stick to sort of start the sideways movement of doing a spin, or maybe that's the right stick, and then the left will do like whether or not you're going to try to do like a sideways flip or an upside down flip, things like that. It all worked really well. I think what really kind of nails it is the fact that the snow physics are really on point. You really do feel like you're carving into the snow very hard. It does this thing where to get speed, you just press A and you hop forward. That looks a little janky. It doesn't like look right, so it doesn't like really convey the feeling of moving over snow in the way I want. But I feel like this is the kind of thing that they dial in with these games because they develop these games for a long period of time and always update them. So I'm kind of hoping like make that look a little bit better and we might really have something here. But yeah, it's got a mountain you explore with various different kinds of tracks and courses where here's a park where there's a bunch of ramps and we're going to give you Tony Hawk style objectives. Go do a 360 over the snowcat, do a 540 melon off the vertical ramp. My one issue with this is I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find the snowcat. This is a big, massive park with different like trails going down it, like forking off in various directions. And I was like looking for a map. Maybe I just missed that, but I just could not find any of these specific points that I was supposed to do these specific objectives. So anything where it's like you could just do this trick anywhere, that was fine. But actually navigating the space was pretty difficult. But again, this game, there's a demo. This game's not out yet. It's coming soon. I think that they will probably iron out some of those issues and make it a little bit easier. If they could just like put a waypoint out there for me, which they weren't doing, or like if you got close to one, just kind of be like, here's the waypoint for it now, that would work. But otherwise, it just feels really cool to snowboard in this game, and that's sort of my bouncing off point. If I can get past that, if I'm enjoying that aspect of it, everything else is really secondary for me. So yeah, this has been it's like a new pillar in my snowboarding game enjoyment. I'm excited about that.
I love it. I love it. I have been checking out Everhood 2. Did any of y'all ever check out the original one?
No.
Everhood, right? No, I don't know what Everhood is.
So Everhood and Everhood 2, it is kind of a bullet hell rhythm game.
It looks
kind
like
of.
Jimmy's stage in WarioWare.
Sure. Yes. That was the touchstone that I arrived to as well. Thank you, Dan. Where you're not quite hitting the notes. You're kind of avoiding them, but with some of the notes or most of the notes, you can absorb them. And if you absorb 3 or more of similar colored notes, so say you're getting blasted by reds and blues, and you are absorbing all of the blues, you can fire off your blue stored up power to the enemy attacking you. And there are some notes that cannot be absorbed. You have to jump over them, you have to sidestep them, and you have like I believe it's 5 or 6 lanes to hop and bop around to. And this game makes me feel very uneasy despite it having like a very simplistic look to it. I don't know if it's the writing or it's the music, but I'm like strangely intrigued. The look of it somewhat akin to Animal Well, with like the animals in the background, like very single pixel or like just a couple pixels of animation and colors. But it makes me feel some type of way where, and like the rhythm game aspect of it isn't quite hitting how I'm expecting it to. And maybe that's where I start feeling off kilter with it. Like for instance, one of the first things they introduce you to is jumping over the notes, and that doesn't quite hit in the way that I'm expecting it to hit. And I don't know if that's just maybe my timing. I've lost my ability to time music because I'm hanging out with y'all too much, or because it's
fair.
a joke. Just
fair.
Just be calm.
Wow.
Here's 5 podcast points amongst you.
I'm trying to bring back
Pity
podcast points to appease us. Okay.
Mike, you get 12.
Ooh, okay. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, there we go. See. But it is like the absorbing factor that is, and how it controls kind of feels a little bit awkward. I am intrigued by the weird story because the game starts with what feels like a personality test, and then they deem the color of your aura or your energy. And mine was not
an
amber.
INTJ. Jesus.
It was blue. And then I'm like, oh man, I'm fucking blue. But anyway,
Dabby die.
Is it trying to be Undertale rhythm game?
I think that is what it's going for. As someone that has never played Undertale still, it feels like that's what it's going for because of the like even like the text animations and like the interactions you will have with other characters.
The way the enemies are like even like framed on the screen.
So I'm like looking at a video now, and that was immediately what I was thinking. Like, oh, it's kind of Undertale-y.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even that font is Undertale-y.
Yeah, one day I'll circle back to Undertale, folks. We'll get there.
It's good.
It's a good game.
But there's something about Everhood 2 that just intrigues me because it feels like this could have just been a weird rhythm game, but there's also like a odd story that it feels like you were just like a kid thrown into like I don't know, like a grungy New York almost, but there's also like a forest behind you. It's really weird. I kind of want to stick with it because I kind of wrote off the original Everhood because I thought it was just a weird rhythm game only for folks like after the fact sharing and saying like, oh no, you got to dig in. It digs its hooks into you. So Everhood 2 just came out yesterday. Folks, we're going to take a quick bricky break. And we may be back up and then we'll go back down because of some jazz and shenanigans. We still got the news coming up, as well as some talk over Spliction, which seems to be reviewing very well. We'll see you right after this quick break. And we're back with video games, just like nothing ever happened. Split Fiction has now hit the charts, folks.
Yes.
Mike Minotti, Dan Reichert, and myself have been playing it. I checked this out a couple weeks ago with Nikki Grayson, and I enjoyed my time then. What do y'all think?
It is a tremendous game. What is that?
Super fun.
Yeah, it's like It Takes Two was very good. Obviously, like one game of the year. I think the main complaint was it was just a little too long, kind of wear out its welcome. But to me, the big differentiating thing is like, I don't know. I think it looks a lot better. I'm not talking graphically necessarily, although it does there too. It's just, I don't know. I didn't like the way the characters looked that much in It Takes Two, and everything kind of just happened to be in that same, like the tone of just kind of the family drama thing, and it's all kind of set in the house. It was a little bit limiting, whereas the whole idea of this being these two authors, one's fantasy, one's sci-fi, and you're just playing through all of their ideas, means you're constantly bouncing back and forth between like, okay, here's like Cyber Ninja stuff, here's Tron stuff, but then here's like, Fantasy Village and Orcs and stuff, with all these side stories that are just way out of left field, just like, oh, we're pigs on a farm type stuff like that.
Yes, that was so great.
Yeah, there's crazy variety. And like even like the tone, like Mike, speaking of the pig thing, there's some like weirdly dark jokes in this that are not like, I don't know, like everyone brings up the elephant thing, which understandably that was a weird scene in It Takes Two. I feel like the dark jokes kind of worked better in this.
Sure, because it kind of fits in with the more, yeah, I didn't mind the aesthetics of It Takes Two. But the maybe that tone with the whole divorce angle and that
like the objective to make a child cry, like maybe that's not great or whatever. Yeah.
Well, maybe right. But yeah, there's still some silliness here. Like there's one involving hot dogs that's very funny,
yes.
right? And it gets kind of weird. And I enjoyed that aspect a lot. But yeah, it is mechanically in a lot of ways just It Takes Two with different characters and a bit different setup. I think it's a bit more kind of leaning a little bit more towards action platforming. There's still a good amount of puzzle platforming here for sure, and it's very set piece focused. There was a lot of set pieces in It Takes Two, but this one really goes hard on that stuff, and it's fantastic. And just like with that game, what shocks me here is just how good the base kind of movement feels.
Yes.
It's like like they made like these systems that themselves would just work fantastic in a 3D platformer and used it exclusively for this really, like, not niche, but it's like, oh, I can't believe this is the game, this like old school style co-op couch game, or online, but I played it with my brother on the couch, and playing a game like that again, it just feels wonderful. It's super neat. Dan, I'm curious, were you playing as Mio, the sci-fi writer, or as Elena Fish and Chips, the fantasy writer?
I am the sci-fi writer.
Okay, I was the fantasy.
She was on the left side of the screen, so I just went.
That's why I did it too. I was sitting on the right side of the couch. I was like, I'll be me. I was like, wait, nope, I'm sitting over here.
No, yeah, Nikki and I had the same decision making.
It is just so smart with the way it does all the co-op stuff. It's just so seamless. Like every time it's like, okay, usually split screen, but then you go to open a door and it just kind of like pans in, and it's just one screen. And then there's whole gameplay segments too, where you're both on the same screen going down a slide or something. Yeah. There's even like little subtle things that I didn't notice right away, that like if one partner dies and you have to kind of do this mini game where you're jamming on triangle to fill in the circle, just very subtly, the screen area of like the dying person just becomes kind of small, just kind of scoots to the side, so the living character in the boss fight kind of has some more screen real estate to work with, and like doesn't make a big deal out of it. Very subtle, smart decisions. Like the game really moves at a certain clip where you always feel this like kinetic energy just like pulling you forward, and there's no collectibles. And I was thinking about that like, man, if they did, if there's even just like a couple things a level to find, that would mean at least one person would probably be like kind of like scouring every area.
It would slow things down.
Be like, hang on, I want to see if hurry back. I want to see if there's something here. But because there's not, and you learn that pretty quickly, whether you realize it or not, you're always just moving forward. And it's just fun, just like shuttling you from thing to thing. It's like a huge, genuinely difficult boss fight to some chase sequence. And all of a sudden you're pigs on a farm, or you're like exploring this like water park.
Yeah.
So the pacing's incredible between just like, this is a tense fucking fight, to like, okay, kind of open area, you got to find a couple apples, that type of thing. It's incredible.
I think it also just communicates to the player very quickly without any like overt instructions of like, all right, you move this way, you move that way, go.
Right,
And
you don't
it's
have
pretty
on-screen
seamless.
tooltips. It's just obvious. Like, yeah, like one character's got a laser sword that can kind of, it can teleport you to walls because you see it happen in the cutscene very briefly. The other character has a gravity whip. Like, yeah, it just makes sense.
And then all of a sudden, yeah, you're going through like it's like a Attack of the Clones style, speeding through a city. Like I'm flying a space car, and the other person like, they get a rocket launcher. I guess I'm shooting these evil cars behind us. Like, yeah.
The great thing also is that each individual player has like a different experience, not just for the gameplay itself, but also when it comes to like little action set pieces where, like for instance, one of the first early ones is you as I think Mio will like dive through the helicopter and throw the pilot out versus Angela Fish and Chips. I forget her name.
What's her actual name? I said Elena Fish and Chips because I was really because she
It's
looks like
whatever
Elena
Joseph
Fisher.
Ferris's other daughter is named because the guy who never the most put himself into his game guy ever, Joseph Ferris. Which, by the way, the fuck the Oscars thing is also in this game.
Oh yeah.
Wait,
of
so
course.
he's done that twice now?
It's in It Takes Two. If you look up at a thing with a satellite, you hear the fuck the Oscar speech, and here there's a radio. If you go up and you tune it, you hear him saying fuck the Oscars.
God, at this point, I just really respect that.
Can you believe somebody would be such a mark for themselves like that?
Oh, no. By the way, watch the Hanson and MinMax did a rapid fire interview with him. It's
very good,
incredible. It's very, very good.
But going back to the individual experience part, as you were playing the game together, like Nikki and I had to replay that segment. And I was watching Nikki's screen, and Nikki, instead of like, because their character is doing something different, they wound up on like the gunner position and like just bopped that dude in the head and threw him off the helicopter. It was just so cool that like there's that small attention to detail for like the individual experiences. I don't know if y'all got to this. I don't think it's spoilers, but when you are on a motorcycle chase or escape sequence, yes. One player, you are navigating through the obstacles. You are driving the motorcycle. The other person is sitting behind you, and they're tasked with unlocking a phone.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was the point where me and my brother were just cracking up because I was unlocking the phone. First, it's like you gotta swipe, and you have to like hold it to your face. It does the face scan. Then you have to play like how many click the squares that have a box
Like
in it thing.
Stuff,
right.
Yeah.
And then it's like write in this word, and you like write in BKE, and then it auto corrects it to bake, even though you don't want it to. And then a countdown timer is
that's
going.
amazing.
I was doing
funny.
the motorcycle part, and it is a really high speed, like jumps and stuff, and you can't be looking at the other screen.
No,
and so
right.
it's just like I'll be trying to like, what the fuck is going on over there?
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
God. Yeah, just I don't want to give away too much, but there's like one part where like the fantasy writer kind of becomes the level instead, and it's just moving all the platforms and things like that. And the other person's jumping. It's just constantly changing the pace within those. But then, like Dan said, the side missions, which are these portals you find, it's like you'll be in the area of the game where you have like the one character with the sword and the one character with the gravity whip for a bit. But that is where you'll find these side stories where you go into this maybe like 15-minute excursion where you are two pigs suddenly, or you are kind of like on hang gliders trying to do a train heist or something like that. Dan said it. The pacing is just immaculate.
Mm-hmm. And like it's even though it's not like, oh, I got to go in here and get collectibles or level up or anything. Every time I've seen a side mission orb or whatever, it's just like, well, yeah, we're gonna do that because like that could be anything. That's gonna be fun.
And I always said like, yeah, I think the writing and characters here are better than It Takes Two. It's sometimes still a little bit corny for me. Like these two characters are very different. Like the one sci-fi fantasy, and the one really likes the big city and thinks that the country would be boring. And the country girl thinks that the city is just too darn loud, right?
Yeah.
So.
But I love that it doesn't get bogged down at all in over-explaining the story, because like the whole concept of like, we're a publisher and we're gonna suck the ideas out of your brain and stuff. They explain this all in like a couple minutes, and then you're having fun. You know, they could just be like, well, here's how this machine does this, or here's how you escape. They get in there and they're like, oh shit, we're in our stories. Guess we got to find glitches to get out. Great, that's all I need to know.
Dan, do you think it's symbolic of anything?
AI and corporate greed?
Yes! Oh my god, even Dan got it! Even Dan got it! Holy shit!
Dan, you just got 100 podcast
Thank you,
points
thanks.
today.
Wow.
Yeah, there we go.
Wow, I'm so proud.
It's pretty clear.
The thing that I'm genuinely The thing I'm genuinely shocked by is that this feels like it's Joseph Fares's bag, right? To do this style of game, and that someone had approached him and like, "Hey, you got an idea for a game?" And he's like, "Yo, I got 20." And coming up with this device to be able to dip into all these different ideas, I think is very fantastic. Even if it is a very small sequence where you're just a hot dog. And I think this might be hot dog of the year.
Oh, what are the physics on my hot dog jump? Like, I love that.
It's just so much fun to play through it. And
I'm just curious do you think there is like there's a Sony or a Microsoft out there somewhere saying like, we should just do that. We should ape that idea.
I don't know, because like at this point, I don't think anyone could execute this as well.
No, I've got it. It's not Sony. It's not Microsoft.
It's From Software.
It's From Soft, and they're making cookies and cream too.
There you go.
It's time. Yeah.
Surprise! It's gonna have Fortnite elements in it.
I think they're. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
No, you go ahead, Jeff.
I was just gonna say, I think that the studio is just in the right space. I talked to this on a game this morning, a few weeks back, that it's like, if the studio was a bigger studio, like they actually worked at for a publishing company, they probably wouldn't be able to justify this for opportunity cost. And if they were a small indie studio on their own completely, it'd probably be too much for them. But because they're a bigger indie studio that gets published by EA and has had a massive success from EA, and now so they can continue to increase their budget, I think they're just in this sweet spot that no one else in the entire industry is really in, where these kinds of games actually make sense for them. So I really do think it'll just be them making this stuff. Some other indie games will probably try to copy this here pretty soon, but it'll be a bit crowded, I think, at that point.
Yeah, I know, like Snipper Clips, right, or Pico 8 are like very small, scaled down examples. But I kind of want to see, I don't know. I guess I would like an Uncharted game to kind of be like this.
Yeah, I mean, they already did the like Lost Legacy type thing where it's like, well, it's about kind of two characters. What's that? Wait, that wasn't co-op, was it? Lost Legacy?
No, it wasn't. It was just two characters. What was co-op was there's that Wolfenstein 2 co-op.
Yeah. Was that New Blood? No,
New Blood.
Yeah.
No,
I kind of tried that.
It was New Blood.
It was. I remember not loving it.
Yeah, I don't love it
people
either,
were
but
kind
I'll
of
try it
cool on
again.
it, even though it sounded like a neat idea. Maybe we should try
Stone
it.
did good,
Yeah,
which is why I was disappointed. Yeah.
Young Blood.
I played the Switch version, and I don't recommend that.
No, definitely don't do that.
Oh no.
That was one of those games when it was it that or just Wolfenstein 2 in general, where they were really talking up the Stadia aspect of it. Like those I was really on board with Stadia at first.
Oh gosh, yeah. I just want to play more Split Fiction. It's reviewing incredibly well. It'd be
you would know that, Mister. I have it in my fantasy critic.
I checked too.
It would be a boon for anyone that has it on their fantasy critic.
Whatever. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more slots to fill in now, and you have like $19. So good luck. I'm projected first. Me, I'm the winner.
Do we know if this has PS5 Pro functionality?
I don't think so.
Okay, because
I'm
good
playing
on the Pro. That's
Series
what I was
X
at. I was going to ask if it looks great on everything, because I'm playing on a Pro, and it's just like, holy shit, this looks so good for a console game. Yeah,
it looks fantastic on Series X where I'm playing it.
Nice.
How long is it? Has anyone beat it?
I didn't beat it.
Joseph Fares said, I want to say he said 12 to 14.
Okay.
Which is like, I think that's about what It Takes Two was. Like, It Takes Two kind of lost some enthusiasm at the end, but I am liking this a lot more than any of their games before. So, like, I'm hoping it keeps up. I'm probably like 4 hours in, probably gonna play a couple hours tonight, but
it's got a lot of like little fun, neat winks and nods at like everything, whether it's like Joseph Fares himself or like other games. Like it's a very early sequence, but you dive into a bale of hay and then you hear like a bird. So I thought that was cute.
Update from the fantasy critic. Gianna Cho is once again projected to finish first.
Oh, weird.
Yep.
That's right.
Because of this game, I think, Spliction.
Well, Mike was really loud a second ago.
Well, that's just projected points. That's not actually all that important.
The big dog is dead. You will respect me as your podcast chief. All right.
I acknowledge you. Just let the record show.
Thank you. Yes. We have our own wise man. He's working back there. He seems stressed out. Jeff Grubb, the news. This is the news for the show. Jeff Grubb.
Let's do the Tony Hawk stuff first, real quick, just to get that on the podcast. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 has been revealed. It's coming July 11th, although you can get it July 8th in early access if you pay a little extra. It is $50 for the base version. Then I think I'm trying to track down the digital price, digital deluxe edition. I think that was like $70 or $80, something like that. And then there is a $130 version. Last one came with a skateboard deck. I don't know if this one does like what it comes with or anything like that. But either way, hey, looks really good. They showed up. They said there's going to be new courses actually added into there. They showed off one of them. It is an abandoned. It's basically Action Park, right? Is that
Coded.
Yeah,
Heavily graffitied and just like colorful and looks really neat.
It
Looks
seems
awesome.
like all water parks now because all of them seem
Yeah.
abandoned.
Yeah.
The water parks are a thing. You just go to Disney for those now. Yeah,
I was going to say it, then I'm like, I shouldn't bring up Disney.
Iron Galaxy's developing it. It is just building on the tech from the first one, which is what everyone wants because you kind of don't need to change anything at this point. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 is perfect as is. This is just more of that. In the trailer that they showed off, as far as we've only watched it once because we did a live react, which you'll be able to find on GameSpot and giantbomb and a bunch of places later, I'm sure. As far as we could tell, we didn't see any Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 levels in the trailer. I wonder if they'll have like
people were saying there were some. It's just kind of harder for me to know because I'm so much more Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 coded that I'm just going to recognize those right away.
Sure. Well, either way, I mean, we're expecting to have all the levels from both games. They had Ace of Spades as the soundtrack to the trailer. Of course they did. And it hit all the right notes for me. How about y'all?
God, absolutely. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 is my favorite game in this series and just one of my favorite games ever in general. So just every time it's like, oh my God, there's the Foundry, there's Airport, there's the cruise ship. I play this game again every few years, really, but I'm so excited to get back to it in this new format with this presentation and having the new skate parks. That is really cool.
Yeah. I think Tony Hawk, he was on Colbert last night, right? And he pretty much announced this, but he had said in that interview, and that quote is kind of circling around, that skating is probably one of the most inclusive sports or activities. Yes. And I also feel that way with the Tony Hawk games, right? Most people that are into games will, fighting games aren't their flavor. RTSs aren't their flavor. I feel like we can all unite and play a game of graffiti together. This has also got to be so wild for the younger, newer skaters that are going to get featured as a part of this roster as well. Because, if you have aspirations to be a pro NFL player, even WWE, right? You want to be that cover athlete or be in that roster. With Tony Hawk, it's such a smaller roster of skaters that to be amongst what is considered the greats like Tony Hawk, Bob Burnquist,
Bam Margera.
Bam, I got work in the morning.
It's got to be something super special to be now part of that lineup, right? It's got to be so fucking neat. And I can't wait to go back to that part in LA because, as Grubb said in that talkover, when we stayed in that hotel that was near that little park area, I'm like, oh man, hey, it's Tony Hawk. Wow, cool.
For those, I wonder if there's a lot of younger gamers that don't understand how hallowed, how revered Tony Hawk is. I'm looking. I know Metacritic's, take it or leave it, pinch of salt, whatever you want, however you take it. It is tied for third best game of all time. It's Mario Galaxy 1, 2, and Breath of the Wild have the same Metascore as Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. That is the low. It's not just a nostalgia old man thing. This is a masterclass video game.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's to me, we've said this before. That's my definition of a video game.
Yeah.
Tony Hawk. When I think of what video games should feel like or make me feel like, it is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. And then, kind of a little bit of radiates out there to 2 and 4 and things like that. But yes, definitely Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 is the sweet spot. And everyone played it back then. I remember I was starting to work some early jobs. And I'd go, I wouldn't talk about video games at work because a bunch of cool people or people just trying to, get a paycheck. Tony Hawk would be the one game that would come up that everyone was playing. It was that popular.
It was also early-ish in the PS2. It's a year after the PS2 came out. And I know a lot of people, think PS2 right out of the gate had this amazing library. You had your Tekken tags, you had your SSXs, you had Twisted Metal Black the next summer.
Your bouncers.
Yeah, but there was a big complaint for the first like year or so that's like, oh, there's no big, PlayStation 2 games. And so this came out in like October, like a year after the console came out.
It was a
And
massive upgrade.
This is a killer fucking
Yeah.
game.
God.
Yes.
Yeah, like
You
Mike,
still
you
got-
talked. Mike, you talked about this during the talk over, but like with Tony Hawk being on everything, I didn't get to play Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 until like well after it had come out because I only had a PS1 at the time, and
Mhm.
I was still having a ball with that. Just
Yeah,
because
but
like
so-
it just
so
translates
good.
so well to everything.
And it
Yeah.
even influenced, like, I know everyone talks about the soundtrack, but it was a real thing. Like, when it came out, I put it in the same way I talk about ECW, in that it opened my eyes to things outside of like, oh, I only listened to classic rock in high school. And all of a sudden it's like, oh man, Rage Against the Machine, Motorhead, Del the Funky Homo Sapien, like all
Yeah.
this stuff. Like, oh fuck, okay, I need to start. Like, I was buying albums because of the Tony Hawk series,
I mean, it really was kind of the Call of Duty in a lot of ways of its time.
Yeah.
I have the sales chart here from Matt Piscatella. In 2000, the third and fourth best-selling games were Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, only beat by Pokemon games. In 2001, Grand Theft Auto 3 and Madden outsold them, but 3 and 4 were Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 and 3. And then in 2002, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 was number 7. 2003, Tony Hawk's Underground was the number 5 best-selling game. They just were perennial best sellers every single year. And again, they were massive, just culturally important. And they say that it had a cultural imprint on skateboarding itself. I mean,
Yeah.
Tony Hawk didn't make real money until the video game. It didn't really reach the mainstream like Tony Hawk's name until the video game. So it goes both ways. And yeah, so when we continue to get more of these, makes me feel like, okay, at least this aspect of video games continues to be okay. A lot of other things have fallen away. We don't get the kinds of games I want all the time anymore, but at least we're getting this. I can like hold on to this.
It didn't hurt too that like it's it reminds me of like Madden in that it wasn't just a like, oh, I signed my name over thing, but like John
Yeah.
Madden wasn't a huge gamer, but he fucking cared about this game he put
Yeah.
his name on, and it's very clear that Tony Hawk cares about this series too.
Absolutely.
It's kind of wild that we're gonna get 3+4 before Skate 4.
Wow.
They announced that very early, man.
They
Partially
were
because-
like, they announced that as they were like
People wouldn't
building
shut
the
up
team
about
to
it.
make the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I should try Skate some. I never played them. I bet I'm not gonna love them, but I should.
I didn't love
try
it.
'em.
It felt like a more of a simulator, whereas like
Yeah.
I
Right.
wanted to the wackiness of Tony Hawk, the video gaminess of it all is what I loved.
Yeah,
I think
Exactly.
it's,
I gotta push the foreman into the pit or whatever.
Yeah, I got to pull his pizza box out of my ass. Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people who just like love skate for it being exactly what it is, because it's like,
Mhm.
well, I want it to feel like skateboarding, and I totally get that. That's how I am with snowboarding games.
Yes.
Okay, let's wrap back around here to iconic game publisher Acclaim has been resurrected, and then there's another phrase on here,
Yeah.
with wrestler Jeff Jarrett as advisor. Acclaim, the U.S. game publisher known for 1990s hits, is making a comeback after declaring bankruptcy in 2004. Led by CEO Alex Joseph, the company aims to support indie developers, revitalize classic franchises, and publish new games. An advisory board of industry leaders, including wrestler Jeff Jarrett, will guide Acclaim's future.
You keep saying
publisher.
that name, and it's I
Friend
still
of
feel
the
like I'm on a different
website.
friend of the site, voicemail dump truck.
Yeah, let's get him back
Wrestler
on here.
Jeff Jarrett.
We probably should have him back on.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
Jesus.
Do you
yeah.
think we caused this?
Probably.
Yes.
Yeah. I sure it was like the first thing I saw when I woke up today was that. Oh no, I saw it was a Chris Scullion that was Blue Sky. Oh, big news for retro games today, and it's not Tony Hawk. And I was like, oh, what is this? This is gonna. And you could have given me infinite guesses. it would have not been this.
Yeah, out of
any
every
point.
wrestler that is loosely tied with video games now, I don't think I would have ever said Jeff Jarrett.
Like Kenny Omega, sure.
Yeah.
I can see that. Woods, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Gotta diversify his portfolio, right? The rest of
Mhm.
the career is coming to
Jarrett.
an end.
I mean, Jarrett worked with Acclaim, I guess, on like the old 16-bit ones, and then like
They did a lot
Warzone and
of
Attitude. No,
wrestling
Attitude.
games.
I
Yeah.
think we are responsible. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was y'all.
But I also there's two things about this that are just like, okay, I saw Phil Salvador from the Video Game History Foundation said like, oh, I hope people understand this is just a trademark being transferred or registered.
Yeah.
And also like, what could the possible like? I was looking at the Acclaim, the list of their games, and all of the ones I remember were like back when I was a kid, and I was buying movie games and NBA Jam, sports games and stuff that like okay, you're never going to be able to like re-release or make. Well, I mean, you could make a new NBA Jam. Like, well, no, EA owns it, right?
Their big thing. I mean, they had Turok. They don't own Turok anymore.
Right.
They did that in a lot of licensed games,
Mortal
like South Park
Kombat,
stuff.
Terminator,
Well, I mean,
Simpsons, all those games. Yeah.
To me, I think they're trying to do the recent like Atari Night Dive thing, where they will find the games that they can bring back, that even the ones that are licensed, and sort of just do a nice sprucing up of them and re-release them. Will they do as good of a job as Night Dive and even Atari has done recently? Atari has bought Night Dive, I think, right? Probably not, but I think this is a popular trend right now, and I'm not against it. I think this is like, I mean, who knows what Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Jarrett's involvement means, but I think if this is the strategy right now of mining old content, well, I'm an old man. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I'm worried it's just going to be more of, this is going to be a studio that's going to be a content farm for licensed games, which, to be fair, is largely what actual Acclaim was
history
too. So whatever.
Okay, I got two things. One, when I saw this news article from when I woke up, I thought the Acclaimed, as in the wrestling stable, had gotten back together. So that Jeff Jarrett had like superseded the Billy Gunn daddy ass. But now I'm also looking at how Acclaim Entertainment is spelled, and I'm looking at the logo.
Yeah.
And I guess this whole time I thought those were K's and not C's.
It's C's.
Yeah. Every time I look at the logo, even though I knew it was spelled Acclaim with C's, I would think those are K's.
I remember back in the day, like even when people would write into magazines and stuff. You know how like now occasionally you'll see trolls write like Microsoft with the $ as the S?
Yeah.
People used to be like, Acclaim. Like they used to be like, yeah.
Like Cappy?
Yeah. Or
Incredible.
All right, so this means we get a new Armorines Project Swarm, right? That's what we're
God,
in store for
Mahardy's
here.
gonna-
Mike Mahardy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Meet Mr. Domino's coming back, right?
Yeah, I like Extreme G.
Yeah,
that's
that's all
fine.
right. They made 3 of those somehow.
BMX Triple X.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Come on.
God.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah,
Did they
just
publish
bring
the version
nothing
I missed?
back but the tasteless marketing that they used to do.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's
I
weird
missed
though,
that
because
too.
like I do when I think about my childhood playing games, like the 16-bit era specifically, I feel like I saw the Acclaim logo maybe more than Konami and Capcom. Like
So
they
I had
were like
so many Acclaim games.
They were
Yeah.
such a rental game company because again, they were people making the Terminator games and the Simpsons
Bart
games.
versus
and
those
the
Space
home
Mutants.
versions of Mortal Kombat and stuff. Like they were all over the place. Yeah.
And then Jeff Jarrett.
And then Jeff Jarrett, Double J,
Good for him.
is there.
Cool.
Chosen one.
Incredible. All right. Well, we'll see what that turns into. They will have maybe we can move up that Terminator 2 story right now. I'm going to do that now, Jan, as well.
Oh, yeah.
Or did I even include that? Oh, there. Yeah, here we are. A new 2D game based on Terminator 2 is coming in September. They did make a Terminator 2 game back in the day. It was Acclaim was involved with that.
I made a couple. I had the one that worked with the Minister for Genesis. It was a
Yes.
light gun.
Oh, the
light gun. It was the
arcade
arcade game. Yeah.
That and Revolution X they did, right?
Yeah. Music is the weapon, brother.
They worked with like LJN on that, and I got to say, this new Terminator 2 game looks a lot like an LJN game. A new 2D action game, Terminator 2 2D, No Fate, based on Terminator 2 Judgment Day, is coming to multiple platforms on September 5th. Players will control Sarah Connor, the T-800, and John Connor across different timelines, aiming to stop the T-1000 and Skynet. It's being developed by Bitmap Bureau. The game blends iconic scenes with original scenarios and multiple endings. It is described as a love letter to 80s and 90s arcade games, with each character having unique combat styles. The new release follows 5 previous Terminator 2 games from the early 90s, including the popular T2, the arcade game. I think it's taking a lot of inspiration, but it does remind me of these movie platform run and gun shooters that you would get a million of based on movies for the Super Nintendo specifically. And I'm fine with that, except for it's like I never loved any of those really for the most part.
They weren't great, but I think they know now they can't just put out one of those and expect that to be a success now. Like I went in pretty skeptical. Like, everyone was posting to me like, oh my God, Terminator 2 game. I was like, all right, there's gonna be some pandering nostalgia, bad game. And I watched it and I was like, actually, this does not look bad at all. Like I am curious about
pretty
it.
good.
Yeah. It kind of if anything, kind of reminds me a little bit of the Sega CD Terminator game, which actually was not bad at all. That one. There's like the run and gunning here looks really nice. There's a bit of there's a little bit of a Contra vibe, but also a little bit of like that alien 3 game on the
Yeah.
Genesis that was a
Sure.
Metroidvania that wasn't bad.
Yep.
Just really good looking pixel work here.
What-
They have the scene in the water trench, whatever that's called in LA. That looks fantastic. I'm into this. I'm excited.
Where they raced in Greece.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yes.
Yeah. There's like naked Arnold Schwarzenegger beat 'em up sections. That's fun.
There's the shooting the T-1000 into the lava.
Yeah.
There's the frozen T-1000. Yeah.
Super.
I think the thing that I'm like what works the best for me out of all this stuff though is sort of the animated attract modes that you would see like on the arcade machines as you would walk past them of like we're gonna like animate the T-1000 going from liquid metal into his human form, and we're just gonna have it's just gonna flash 2D pixel frames really fast to kind of like emulate that. And that style of attract mode has been stuck in my brain my entire life now. So when I see a new game like going for that, it's like, okay, these are people that kind of feel the same way I do about that stuff.
And when you said the different combat styles, what I'm seeing here maybe like John Connor's the run and gun like Contra, Sarah Connor maybe like Metroidvania, maybe a little bit more stealth action stuff, and then like the Terminator is just beat 'em up. Perhaps. And there's
Makes
some
sense.
shooting elements in there too, all over the place.
I think they showed. Don't they have Sarah Connor in the asylum? That escaping there and just beating the shit out of everyone with like a broom handle should be fun.
She looks so cool doing pull-ups in her cell.
Yeah. Paperclip in the mouth, breaking
continue
out.
screen is very good.
The syringe and the fucking it's man, Terminator 2. Have we ever talked about that?
We didn't film in 40s for this.
No, somehow.
What, really?
It's for Terminator 2? I don't think we've ever done a Terminator film in 40s.
I think we did one because Bacalar was there because he never saw
Maybe we
one of
did
them.
one. Maybe we did the first one.
Right, that's what it was. Backlar hadn't. I was like just thinking like, was there one that
We never
Backlar
did
hasn't
two.
seen? Okay.
Well, what better
Dude,
time?
Look, I will watch Terminator 2 if someone asks me to watch
I don't mean
Terminator
to
2.
force you, Dan.
I don't want to
well,
here, but you ought to be ready for me to feel bad for like a random mall security person getting caught in the crossfire and dying.
Oh, the guy. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
I love that
that's
part.
sad.
Oh, he's got the coffee.
All right. Well, let's see here. Let's go back over here to Activision taps AI for sneak peek at possible Guitar Hero, Call of Duty, and Crash Bandicoot games. This story is insane. Activision apparently created AI-generated ads for games, put them on social media services like Instagram, being like, hey, like, look at this. It's Guitar Hero Mobile, or Call of Duty Zombie Defender, or Crash Bandicoot Brawl. You should click on this. And then people would click on it, and that would lead to a survey link that would be like, yo, this ain't real, but fill out this survey to tell us if you would be interested in something like this. And everyone's like, what the hell are you talking about? Why would you do this? Why would you put this crappy AI art out of these games in the first place? And then what do you want people to feel when they are filling out the survey? Betrayed? Because that's all you've done here. What a crazy thing.
Bizarre, just wacky, stupid, weird, unhinged behavior.
You know what,
the
though?
hell is going on?
This decision to do this probably took way too long.
Yeah.
It probably had way too many heads involved.
And enough people had to approve it to actually happen.
And so many people were high on their own supply to go make this thing.
Yeah.
Right.
And there was like a lot of people who were like initially trying to tell them that they shouldn't do this, but were like shouted down. Just sort of like dead inside for months as this was moving ahead. What the hell? There's got to be other ways to find out if there's interest in a potential video game.
Yeah. Especially
Objectively a terrible fucking idea.
This data has got to be useless because who's going to fill out this survey that is going to be? I mean, you're going to get some random people, I guess, but that don't like realize it's AI, I suppose. But anyone who does and then realizes the games aren't real are just going to come in there and yell at them. So yeah.
I would be mad if I was like not in tune with like game news or whatever, and it's not like, oh, new Guitar Hero, sure, and it's a fucking survey. Like there are fake games that lead to an actual game still all over TikTok. It does a way better job at convincing me to do something, and the click-through rate there versus whatever the fuck this was.
Yep, just a weird thing from a company that continues to be just buck wild, weird, stupid, and Activision. PS5's Twisted Metal game, now speaking of good ideas, was a battle royale with third-person shooting, as in you would get out of the car and shoot like in a battle royale. Now, you could get into the cars and drive them around, but to me, that would mean like you're getting into different cars. And so maybe you don't have that association with the driver and the car, and like there's a strong character for each vehicle. I don't know, but some screenshots were put out by someone who worked on the game, and they kind of like put a little bit of a blur on them, but you could see what was happening, and it looked a lot like, Fortnite, Radical Heights, any of these battle royale games that have come out over the years.
I mean, I would love this. I think I would prefer if it happened. I would have liked it to stay in the car.
Yeah, sure.
I'm a huge. Anytime it's a vehicle-based series and it's like, oh, now you can get out. Star Fox is, main offender number 1, I think, or Drive 3er. It's just like, nope, this is a driving game. I want to be in the car. I want to be in the R-Wing. Twisted Metal, I don't need to run around. In fact, this weekend I was playing Head On Extra Twisted Edition with the weird Sweet Tooth mode where you're running around as Sweet Tooth, and it's like, this is not what I want. This is not it.
Yeah.
So the idea of just cars, like 100 cars on an island, sounds fucking awesome to me.
Well, yeah, that would have been awesome, but that's not what this is. So
they're
yeah,
so close. Yeah, like would it differentiate you? Fortnite literally has had like seasons with car combat in it, and I didn't even really love it in there. I was like, I felt better when I was just actually running around shooting people as opposed to this weird car combat stuff. But yeah, Twisted Metal is a battle royale. That's not a terrible direction. But you would need to make maps based around driving, and you can really optimize it for that. Once it's both driving and on foot stuff, well, then the maps have to serve both those purposes, and that's very difficult.
Folks, Fortnite kind of did it, though.
Yeah.
I didn't try it.
I didn't love the car combat seasons of Fortnite.
Was that the Mad Max season?
There was a Mad Max. I think it was like supposed to be Mad Max, and like clearly the deal didn't happen, but like that stuff was still there or something like that.
This isn't happening. This game's canceled.
Yeah, but like they kind of tried to do something with Twisted Metal. It's when they're the show's getting a second season.
Yeah, but I mean that's going to take 5 years to make a game, so they start now. It might not make sense.
So weird. Imagine, I thought it was ready to be announced years ago, like because there were people in the media that I know that like had articles written and were just waiting for the go ahead to publish, like played or saw the game. So it's like, oh, okay, this is an imminent SGF reveal or something, and then it just got canceled.
Yep, and I think that might have been the original version because I heard a lot about that one, and then that got canceled, and then got moved over to Fire Sprite to be this live service free-to-play battle royale where you get out of the car and can shoot. And then now, this was canceled last year or the year before that, something like that. So
imagine if instead of making Blue Point work on a live service game that would get canceled, if they were just doing a Twisted Metal Black remake this whole time or something. That would have been nice. That would be cool.
Might be a good idea to just shift them to that now after canceling their game. All right. Sony has been sued for disproportionate Sony tax, abusing its market position to increase game prices. It was a class action lawsuit that has been filed against Sony in the Netherlands, alleging that the company abuses its market position in digital PlayStation game sales to inflate prices. Basically, the argument is PlayStation consoles have a grip on that market, and then you can only go through Sony to set your prices on their store, and so they have this unfair advantage, and that has led to digital game prices being like something like 40% more expensive than physical game prices when you can compare the two. And so the Netherlands sued them. Sony settled. Now the real thing here is like this keeps happening. Sony does keep facing regulation from from different countries saying, hey, you control this walled garden that most people buy their video games through. What's going on here? Why are you setting these prices so much higher? And Sony just keeps settling. And it does feel like they might keep getting these like speeding tickets essentially to the point where it could become a problem for them. And if they don't change, maybe these governments might get more serious and say, hey, we're going to introduce regulation forcing you to open up your store, forcing like what has happened with Apple and Android. That seems to be the trend, the direction that it's heading. This is just the latest example of that sort of feeling. But I do think that continues to be the long-term goal for a company like Microsoft, hoping, hey, we'll just have our own Microsoft store on PlayStation one day, maybe 10, 15 years from now. But because these governments, especially in Europe, continue to crack down on this, it's feeling more and more likely that something like that could happen. Do you guys think Sony could have a response to this that maybe brings pricing more in line with physical so that they can avoid getting sued and avoid this?
They're not going to be able to ever help themselves, right? They're going to like push it, and push it. And yeah, like you said, they'll pay their speeding tickets along the way. But no, we know how this all works. They can't make less money, right?
You want
That'd
the whole
be
pie.
crazy. That'd be insane.
You give people a taste of the fun dessert. You don't give them the whole thing.
Yeah, and it does feel like they probably could if they were willing to, but you're right, they need that growth, and all of that is sort of their number one focus. We'll see how this progresses down the line. It's also the possibility that governments get distracted or find some other target and Sony can skate by. I think that's Sony's hope. We'll see.
What could possibly distract them in the world right now instead of this?
Oh, nothing. It's all chill.
Okay, just ask.
It's so chill. Pokemon Legends ZA trailer dropped. This happened after the podcast last week. It showed off new mechanics, but we still don't have a release date. Basically, it is the sequel to the last one, but it takes place in a city. And so there is fewer like wide open areas. That's the big change. Other than that, it is a Pokemon Legends game where you're capturing Pokemon in a live setting. And then the other major change, I suppose, is that the combat is more real time and that you are issuing commands. And yeah, I guess I don't know how to describe it. As Pokemon fan number one, Jan, how would you sort of explain it?
Someone had pointed this out in the chat as I came to the same conclusion, but it kind of does feel like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, where you're positioning and there are cooldowns, so you can like do a loose dodge and kind of command your Pokemon like, hey, scurry on over here to get out of the way. And yeah, positioning very important here, which normally isn't a thing to worry about with the baseline or the mainline Pokemon games, because you're just kind of taking turns hitting each other. Here, you got to get your little dudes out of the way, and I cannot wait. It does. I don't know what the internet's saying. I think it looks okay. I don't think it looks like Garbo, like everyone is saying, but it looks.
I think
fine.
if I lived in a world without Scarlet and Violet, I'd be like, oh, it looks pretty bad, and it looks just enough better than Scarlet and Violet. I'm like, I'll take it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
The starters here are Chikorita, Tepig, and Totodile, and you can pick between characters Urbane and Towny, and yes, that's really their names.
I think Urbane and Towny, those are your rivals, I think.
Oh, those are the rivals? Okay.
Those are,
the players will have a new companion. You're right. Companion / rival.
But the wild thing is we're back with Mega Evolutions. I hope we get more Megas. I mean, we're going to get Mega Meganium, probably, right?
Mega Mike Minotti is not a fan of the.
I'm anti-Megas. I'm anti-Z attacks. I'm anti-wearing a crystal hat. I don't go for any of these bullshit gimmicks. I'm Mike Minotti, famously anti-gimmick. I'm just saying.
It was the Nemesis system, guys. Wonder Woman was canceled. And the studio that was working on it was closed down. That was Monolith Productions. Long storied history for that studio. This also happened after the show last week. And one of the key culprits of the reason that the development went so bad for that game, because it got rebooted last year after being announced in 2021, is that they couldn't really figure out how to make the Nemesis system work. They were going to try a different variation on it where it was going to be kind of a friend system where Wonder Woman would gain allies as she played the game, and the allies would show up and would evolve based on how you interacted with them. That also didn't work. So last year they rebooted it and were like, we're just going to make basically a version of this game that is like God of War 2018. But by then it was they spent too much time and too much money, and Warner Brothers had lost their taste for this. And so they just closed the whole thing down. It's a real shame that this studio just kind of got caught in that rut of Warner Brothers being like, well, we got to make something more with Nemesis. Let's make that make sense. And now they are paying the price by having that entire studio wiped from the face of the earth.
I think they've made video game players their nemesis, actually. I think general consumers of media, Warner Brothers has just adopted the Nemesis system.
Well, I mean, they're beloved in movies
people.
Still. Come on. Everyone loves that they make movies and don't release them.
You think the leash would have been longer here if like Suicide Squad wasn't that massive money loss for them?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I think it's they probably were looking at it and thinking this would be a repeat because it's a very similar setup, right? Where the Suicide Squad movie came out, made a lot of money. So they green lighted a game based on that. The next movie came out, didn't make as much money because everyone hated the first one actually in the long run. So all of the excitement ran out of the room. Wonder Woman, the first movie did really well, made a lot of money. Second one came out. Actually, that one failed because the second movie was pretty garbage. I hate that movie. And so they are probably expecting no more excitement for that. So this game doesn't make sense anymore. It's almost certainly kind of the way they viewed it. All right, last couple of stories. Just 4 months after its release, BioWare's Dragon Age The Veilguard has joined PlayStation Plus. I think it's up to claim now. And this is not like, oh, it's temporarily in the back library. This is part of like their essential, where if you have like the base version of PlayStation Plus, you can add this to your collection for as long as you have PlayStation Plus. Yeah, this game, they're clearly just like, man, we got to make as much money back from this thing as possible. It just did not find an audience. It's that simple.
Yeah, that's really early to be on there. Like you said, it's just, well, we'll get a check from Sony if we do this at least.
And I'm sure Sony wrote probably a pretty hefty check for it.
Yeah, it's wild. And I wonder if it's going to be like a longer consequence of people being maybe a bit more hesitant about bringing back semi-dormant franchises. We still have
it feels like a Mirror's Edge. What was the second one called? Yeah, it feels like that.
We still have things like Onimusha and the Amatoratsu's game that I'm suddenly blanking out on. Okami, the other right. Like those things are coming back. It's coming back. So maybe we'll see some other successes here. There's everybody's like, what's the one reason why Dragon Age The Veilguard didn't work? And there are so many.
Yeah, there's no one reason.
Yeah. There's no one reason, but there are a lot of them. And
it was too woke.
It was too woke. You're right. It's like that's definitely not a reason, but Chuds being very upset and making that kind of the biggest talking point about the game online, probably part of the reason, along with legitimate complaints people had about the story and the gameplay and just that long span of time between two things. That awful first trailer that just was not the tone anybody wanted from this. I'm glad I'm not working on the new Mass Effect because that is probably very stressful.
Yeah.
Yep. Especially with like the reduced team that they got working on that now.
Oh, that's true.
Yep. Okay. Well, we'll see. They're not going to make any more Dragon Age games, at least not anytime soon, and probably never. And then Mass Effect they are still going to try to make. We'll see how that goes down. Last story I have here: Hideki Kamiya wants to revive canceled Xbox exclusive Scalebound, or basically just like there's a video I guess of him looking at this game with his staff and like reminiscing about it, and he was like explaining to him like, look he's got headphones, but it's a fantasy world. It's like an isekai. And everyone's like, oh, cool, dude. Like, we didn't realize that. But then I guess he ends up by just saying, hey, Phil, we should go back and do this. Do you, the three of you, think that they will make and release the video game Scalebound for the Xbox platform?
No.
Absolutely not.
No way.
No. I mean, for one thing, he's not at Platinum Games anymore, so... he's at Capcom again.
Yeah, but don't you think Microsoft probably owned Scalebound?
Sure, but even beyond that, like I don't see Capcom. Like I know Capcom's done some partnerships with Microsoft. I don't think they're gonna be like, let's work really hard on this Microsoft-based project again.
Sure.
I don't know. I get people being upset about Scalebound, right? But we never really knew that much about that game. We never really knew if it was going to be good. If you want to make a game about a person riding a dragon and fighting other dragons. Yeah, sure.
You get a PS3 and you get Lair.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it needs to be Scalebound anymore, right?
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
Do these people know that Spyro the Dragon exists? You can just be the dragon.
Oh,
that's true.
Yeah.
Gotta cut out the middleman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently Clover's is not part of Capcom, by the way. So sorry about that. I misspoke.
Oh, I didn't realize that either. I thought they were just
independent.
Wow. Okay. Well, so maybe they're going to make this. In that case, I'm going to say yes. This will happen. It'll be out next year. It'll be Game of the Year.
I'm wondering like who wants this game in 2025. But I pulled up one of the trailers and I'm looking at the newest comments, and there are still people actively upset about this game being canceled. And I guess
I don't get those people either.
I don't understand that, but I guess that's why Hollywood felt compelled to make a How to Train Your Dragon live action movie that is just the same movie.
Yeah. Man.
Do people really like dragons?
Dragons are cool. How to Train Your Dragon 1 is a good movie. I think the remake looks really stupid. They want to keep that franchise a bit relevant. They did just build a giant theme park section off of it in that new one in Orlando. So I don't know.
My kids just got into How to Train Your Dragon big time in like the last week. So
It's a good,
Would
good music.
I kind of want to get the gimmicks and dib a skateboard. I just want to see what happens.
Sure.
Mm,
well,
Yeah.
they would die.
yeah.
I'll get one for Mike Minotti as well.
Oh, great.
Mike will become the greatest skater alive.
That'd
be
You
awesome.
were talking about how inclusive it is. Here I come. Include me.
Yeah, I could see Mike Minotti being the most supportive skater at the park, and he's like banging his board of like, "You did it, buddy! You did it! You dropped
I
in."
would- Yeah, but I would hurt myself horribly very early on and not be there very much.
Everyone would be supportive and check in on you.
They
Oh,
better, because I'll need it. I'll be in a lot of pain.
All right. So one more story here. This one comes from Nikki. What it mean that Yoshi-P not on the Square Enix board anymore? This one I missed. Let's see here. Final Fantasy XIV's Yoshi-P quietly removed from Square Enix's board after years of wanting out. It's much more fun to just make games, they said. So that's probably what it is. Is that Yoshi-P is very busy doing other stuff that he wants to be doing.
I mean, he's in charge of Final Fantasy 14. That alone should be a full-time job.
Right.
And then he just also made Final Fantasy 16.
Right.
That's wild. And you're on the board of the whole company. Yeah, that was clearly too much. Like they're very appreciative and impressed with how he saved 14 as they should be, but there's still only so much you can throw on that man's plate. And honestly, like, I think there's probably more to it than this. But yeah, he did seem a little stretched thin there in the last few years, right? Like,
Yep, definitely.
Dawn Trail, not as well received an expansion. 16 had some issues. So yeah, let's try to give the man a little bit of space here.
He's also like still going to be very crucial to like the executive management of that company. Like they said that he'll continue to serve as an executive officer. He'll also be joining the executive management committee starting April 1st, which, it's not going to be the board of directors, but might be actually more crucial to how Square Enix operates as a company. So Yoshi-P is still incredibly crucial to Square Enix, like maybe the most crucial employee that they have. All right. That does it for the headlines. Jan, back over to you.
We're going to go take another quick bricky break, and we'll be back with some emails right after this. Emails. Bombcast@giantbomb.com is the email address to send your emails to. Mike, we actually got an email where someone sent in a beat for the next gamer rap.
I heard about that. I was
Oh.
complaining that I didn't have a backing beat for it, so I'm running out of excuses now. I'm gonna have to really get this thing done soon. Thank you.
I'm going to say this out here, out loud, because this is how the stuff happens. You just say it, and then you're kind of held to it. I think I want new segment music.
Oh yeah,
It's time. It's time.
Yeah.
Is that the new gamer rap? Is it going to be that?
No, well,
The
I mean,
email rap?
That could be.
Mike, drop
Yeah.
a bar.
Oh, hey, it's time for emails, so send them in before it's an e-fail. I want to know what you're thinking. If your opinions are bad, I'll tell them they're stinking.
Bombcast@giantbomb.com.
Okay, that was better than I expected that to be.
Oh, thank you.
You're like a Kyle Lamar, Mike.
Wow, me, Kyle.
Wow.
God.
If
Also,
I-
very funny that Drake was in the first row at Elimination Chamber, and they never know. I'm sure he asked not to be shown, but still very funny.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, because they'll show Vanessa Hudgens at every single event she's in, and I don't mind that at
Topanga's
all.
the biggest star in the world in the WWE universe. Yeah.
Topanga's the biggest star in my heart.
Yeah,
too,
she still is
all
the
right?
biggest star. Yeah.
God. Topanga's got podcast beef. Y'all hear about this? Y'all see this?
No,
I
is she
heard
like
about
fighting with
that.
Hawk Tua?
No. She's with a former co-star. The woman that Maitland Ward that played Rachel in the later seasons of Boy Meets World. They had beef or have beef.
Wait,
What's it
Topanga,
about?
I'm not gonna. It's not my place, Mike.
Is it about boys?
No. Yeah.
Maitland
we-
Ward?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I Googled it.
Yep.
All right,
Maitland
yeah.
Ward.
Yep. We
I
don't need
brought-
to.
I brought her on to the New Day podcast once as a surprise because Woods was like in love with her from his childhood. And so we just had, I forgot if we like queued up some conversation about Boy Meets World, and I just had Topanga join the Zoom call, and Woods freaked out.
Let it be known. I would love that.
Probably still got her number, Jan, if you need to talk to her.
We should get Topanga on the voicemail dump truck. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I
I'm
think
just
we
like,
need Double J first.
sorry. My heart's beating too fast. I'm just
Wasn't
like,
like the whole thing with Topanga originally was like she was like a weird character, and then like she got Steve Urkel in, and they kind of normalized her to just be the kind of love interest. But at first, like the whole point was like Topanga's the weird character of a weird name, and she's a weirdo. Everyone's like, actually,
Was
she's
she a Kimmy
gorgeous. What are you
Gibbler?
talking about?
Was she Kimmy
Yeah.
Gibbler?
no,
It's
she
kind
was
of-
not Kimmy Gibbler. She was
Oh.
like neighbor.
Oh, hippie kid.
She was a hippie
okay.
kid. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
All right.
Huh.
First email comes in. Subject line read avowed. I didn't write down the emailer's name. That's it. I don't understand the reviews on this. Play, exploration, art, and narrative are fun. Anyway, have a good week. Thank you.
There was a part of me is like, okay, yeah, the reviews like aren't maybe as high as they will be, but I bet like the Steam reviews will be much better. And even those are just like mostly positive, which is kind of the same a bit all over the place vibe I got from a lot of people. I guess there are a lot more people, I guess, concerned with, because everybody keeps saying this phrase, the world doesn't feel alive enough. And I kind of know what people mean by that, but I also, one, kind of don't, and two, kind of don't care as much as so many people
Because
do
it's an
in that
action
aspect.
RPG. Like it's
Yeah.
like a lot. It feels as alive as a lot of other action RPGs.
I mean, I get the thing in that, like, oh, okay, yeah, it's cool that in Bethesda one, you could just kill like an NPC and then you can't take that quest from them. It's like, I think that is cool, but
That's
that is
awesome, yeah.
also a giant Bethesda thing. Like, this is a shorter, more streamlined thing. Like, and it didn't bother me. It's still fun as hell to play.
Avowed definitely got graded on a like different rubric. It got like
Sure.
you're not the game that I thought you were going to be, so therefore you are bad. And that it's weird that happens sometimes in people's expectations. You're allowed to have your expectations, but it definitely is getting, I think, a little unfairly assessed based on people thinking it was a very specific kind of game, and it didn't do a lot of that stuff because it wasn't interested in that stuff. So that's a shame.
Yep.
Next email is about cousins. Hi, bombers. I'm here answering the Bombcast call for aid, parentheses, emails. And I assume you're being inundated this week. I recently read Polygon's Cousin Games article, which, if you haven't read, is essentially coins the term cousin games for essentially in your youth that you loved, but later found out they were essentially a store brand video game perhaps could even be thought of as a B game as you thought was a AAA game. It brought my mind a game when I was a kid, Speed Freaks. I think it was called Speed Punks in the US. This game is important to me for a few reasons. When I was a kid, it was my first introduction to kart games, and I loved it. I really thought it was amazing. It's only recently I found out that basically no one else I knew had played it. It just happened to be a game from my childhood that my childhood best friend had, so we played it to death. I later found Crash Team Racing and then Mario Kart when I got DS and learned what proper kart racers feel like, but I still sometimes replay Speed Freaks as it holds up for me. I also later found out that it was actually developed by Funcom in Ireland, which has really added to its lore, as Irish-made games are few and far between. So I'm wondering if you had ever heard of this game, play this game, and also what would your cousin games be? Thanks, guys. Brian, Dublin, Ireland.
Huh.
I've heard the word speed.
Ooh, for PS1. Okay, I remember seeing this box art in the GI Vault. Yeah, I never played it.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I think I did play Speed Freaks somewhere.
These are
As I
crazy.
saw the box, I was like, oh yeah.
These are Atomic Warheads characters.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. God, 99, that's way later than I would have guessed for
Yeah.
this game.
I was thinking Super
99.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
I guess mine very literally cousin games, because me and my cousin played a ton of games growing up, and it was usually NES. But these are probably bigger than what this writer's talking about.
Right.
But the ones that come to mind are Bubble Bobble, Rampage, and Caveman games. Those are the 2-player games that, like, if I'm ever staying over at Matt's place, we are definitely just playing those all night.
It's so funny because like Bubble Bobble was definitely a game I mostly played at my cousin's place. Like I love Bubble Bobble. I have this little poster of it over here still. I love it, but it was a game I never actually owned. It was at my cousin/grandma's. Then the other two I associate with that, which like aren't like big games, but there was a Barbie game for the Super Nintendo they have where you rode a horse and did some other things. And Spot, not Cool Spot for the Genesis Super Nintendo, just Spot, which was an Othello clone for the NES. We would play
sure.
that. I thought that game was they had some sick animation. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, my definitely going over to like cousins or family members' house. I remember like that's where I discovered Karnoff, which was for me was a long time was this game that no one else ever talked about, and then it's all anyone talks about a giant bomb, so it's different now.
Of course.
All anyone talks.
Yeah, all anyone talks about. Everyone loves Karnoff. Come on.
I don't know if I've played it.
Man, it blew my mind a couple years ago when I discovered that Karnoff was had a fighting game series. Like he was the ringleader of and stuff like that. He's like a whole character for whoever that company was, Data East. I can't remember.
I get Karnov and Rygar mixed up.
You're right. Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, I get it too. And then Heineakio Alien was this Game Boy game that's about digging holes and trapping aliens in the hole. And then that's another one where later I discovered apparently that was a very popular arcade game in Japan. And so it has this history that a lot of people know about, but no one ever talked about that in any of the circles I was in for a very long time.
My cousin game is Rayman Arena. I don't know if y'all remember this.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. This was a Rayman racing game, I guess. Split screen Jimmy Jam. And yeah, me and my little cousin played this a bunch. Cousin games also kind of extend to something like Minecraft, just because it was just like a sandboxy environment where you could do whatever.
I definitely also associate JRPGs with my cousin because he was a big RPG guy or JRPG guy. And so Super Nintendo era, he'd be like, okay, I know you don't usually like these, but check out Secret of Evermore. And then I would play it until it was a turn-based thing. I was like, why do you play these games? He was the Final Fantasy guy, all those. And it's I do not understand this. But he also introduced me to Mortal Kombat and Command & Conquer. So,
there
hey.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Next emailer is seeking some validation. Emailer writes in, hello bombers, I need some of y'all to possibly validate an issue I might have. This could be so long, so I'll bullet point the story. All right. Moved from New York to Raleigh in 2017, have old retro consoles, primarily RGB, all look like ass on big fancy modern TV. Discovers North Carolina has an insane thrift store scene, purchases CRT, coax only, and VCR, coax out, RGB in. Life is good with old TV. Maybe I get another. Discovers North Carolina thrift also has an insane VHS scene. Purchase some classics, purchase more classics, some more classics, and more classics. They write, I asked that Jan read this below with sincerity. So here's my potential issue. It's now 2025, and I have easily over 500 VHS tapes. In my
Yeah.
closet. I absolutely fucking love every single one of them and watch them all the time. Now, this part with intensity and slight hint of concern. What did I do? What have I become? Am I a monster or just a man with a passion for cool VHS tapes? They look awesome and reek of nostalgia. I even crafted some floating shelves and put them on display in my gaming room. Back to sincerity. Anyways, that's my rant. There's my issue for the world of GB to know. This kind of thing ever happened to you guys? Jeff Grubb, Jan, mostly looking to you two. Love you all. And remember, rewind and be kind.
I
Heart
see no
emoji.
problems here.
That's no problems. This is cool. This is a cool guy.
Fantastic.
Big
Yeah.
fan of this. Yeah,
No,
I think
cool dude.
I would love to be in your situation. Absolutely.
I've had
I
to
got-
stop myself from doing that. I got the
Yeah,
CRT and the
definitely.
VCR, and I'll see on like Facebook Marketplace, like, here's every great action movie from the 90s on VHS. I'm like, that takes up a lot of space,
Mhm.
but it's only
Yeah.
$20. And oh God, he's got cut the rock, and yeah.
Look,
I
our
do like the way
parents,
they look though.
our parents, when they had midlife crises, they would like buy motorcycles and boats, but you know, the
Yeah.
money ain't quite as good as it used to be.
No.
So yeah, buying a CRT and a bunch of VHS tapes, that's fine. That's better. That's fun.
Yeah, way
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, like a movie critic I really like, Shea Serrano. He started like collecting a bunch of VHS tapes, and I thought like, oh no, I don't want to do that. And then I kind of want one of those old dorky SpongeBob CRTs that have like the VCR combo.
Yeah.
Oh,
Totally.
yeah.
And like I
Yeah.
kind of just want one behind me at all times, just that I just pop a new tape in.
That's whenever I have like a party here, I'll usually just like I have boxes of my old VHS tapes of just like everything I taped on TV in like junior high and high school, and I'll just put one in and be like, "We'll see what I was taping when I was 13." And then it's usually just like a bunch of like Conan bits and Simpsons episodes and old
Yeah.
wrestling, and I'm just like,
Oh.
"Here's a bunch of the Man Show. here's an episode of Insomniac."
I gotta find it, but like the one New Year's, like in like 2000 something, they just did a Iron Chef marathon, and I like diligently recorded the entire thing. I loved Iron Chef so much. Oh, it was such, and I would just watch those tapes over and over. God, Iron Chef is amazing. Like some of those tapes are just, I just think about them, like the Jurassic Park VHS and how clean and
Yeah.
good that looks. I'm like, I
Wait,
feel
did they have the
good.
textured? Or am I thinking of the book? They had the textured logo. Maybe I'm thinking of the book.
Maybe it's a little embossed. I forget, but it's
Or
just
just
like,
had like
you
a
know,
little bumpy logo. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just like
embossed,
like the Batman VHS was the same, right? It's just like that clean logo.
Yeah.
Maybe like one like pull quote or like tagline there.
The old
Um,
original
Yeah, but the movie
trilogy
sold
ones.
itself. Yeah.
The original trilogy with the silver boxes. Oh, no, the
Yeah.
silver and the gold. Wasn't one
The-
full screen and one was
Yes,
wide
gold,
screen?
gold was full screen, silver was widescreen. I got the gold one first, and then my friends like the movie's getting cut off. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're not cutting out scenes. And then I
Right.
got the Abyss special edition because I was just into James Cameron. I'd never heard of or seen this movie before, and I took it home, and it started with a long explanation of pan and scan. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is like they
Right.
are just cutting off the signs of these movies. And James Cameron's like, you're a fucking war criminal if you watch a movie in pan and scan, only widescreen. And so I'm like, well, I'm gonna go out and get the silver Star Wars trilogy right now.
That's totally that era's version of Tom Cruise being like, don't watch with
Yeah.
motion smoothing, or like, don't watch movies on your phone. Yeah.
That
And it
last
happened kind
issue,
of overnight.
that last issue of the non-special edition of the Star Wars trilogy, like each one opened with Leonard Maltin talking to George Lucas, right?
Yeah.
Stuff ruled. I love.
That was cool stuff.
Oh god,
But-
VHSs are cool.
Yeah.
Recording stuff at home. What is? Do you guys remember like a TV like special or an event, like a
Oh.
really weird one that you were excited for? For me, it was the I think direct-to-TV sequel for Revenge of the Nerds that was going to be in 3D.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
hell yeah.
And you could go to 7-Eleven and get the 3D glasses. And it would like you put on the glasses and they would they were just using this effect where they would like pan to the left and they would play at a high frame rate and it just kind of
Yes.
vaguely looked 3D.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
so
Yes.
weird.
They did that with a ABC block on like a Wednesday night when it was like Drew Carey show. And like I'd never really watched the Drew Carey show, but it's like all 4 of our shows this night are going to be in 3D. And you could like go to grocery stores and like in Entertainment Weeklies, they would have the glasses or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They,
Well,
they
the-
did this for Nickelodeon. They called them Noggle goggles.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right. And all it was color code for Nickelodeon. Like
Yeah.
the reds would just show up like closer to you than like the blues or something. So all the shows were just kind of made like that. It was. I remember a Hey Arnold scene where
Yeah.
Helga was having a nightmare and there was like a tunnel and like the hearts closer in the tunnel were red. It was a weird effect.
I have like 4 blank tapes that I filled with 9/11 footage on actual
Yeah,
9/11.
you
I don't know
talked about that
why.
before.
It's weird. Every time I'm looking through, it's like, oh, here's all my old like D-Generation X and WWF Divas and then 9/11 footage. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ.
We all coped differently, Dan. It's okay.
Yeah, I should probably be taping this. This seems historic.
I mean, you're not wrong.
No,
Yeah.
I don't want to
Something
watch
wrong
it though. I've
Yeah.
seen it.
God,
Yeah.
I just looked.
What
at
if people forget?
Don't think they will ever.
I looked at Facebook Marketplace, and there are several people just giving out boxes of VHS tapes. for
Yeah.
free.
Oh, it's easy to
yeah.
find if you want to go that route. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
a question for y'all. Okay, Mike, I know that generally the Disney tapes had like the plastic sleeve book around
Yeah.
it. Do y'all prefer that or like the paper sleeves?
I love the paper sleeves personally.
Yeah, the plastic ones kept better.
The plastic
Sure.
ones, I feel like when you bought them, like they would always be the cardboard ones, right? I feel like if you went to Blockbuster, it'd be. Are you talking like the clamshell plastic?
Like the Disney did the big clamshell that
those
were
you
like
wouldn't
that
really
seems like-
know.
that seems like so much. I know, but I know what you're talking about. Friends would have those, and it's just the big wasted plastic, like the white cases. Like, no, fuck that.
I mean, those kept better. They're nice in their own way. Come on. It's
my
like the cardboard boxes for the Super Nintendo games now, as opposed
Just-
to having the
I like the
Genesis
Genesis.
clamshell.
I
Yeah.
like, oh man, every once in a while I see like an Earthworm Jim 2 or a Vector Man. I'm like, ooh, I remember hating these cardboard boxes.
Yeah.
the big puffy boxes for the Disney movies always just looked like they were afraid the movies were going to hurt themselves or something. It was like protective padding. It was weird.
Sure.
I,
All right.
I can't comment. It was so normalized to me. I'll have to take your word for it if it's weird. To me, that's just one of the 2 ways they came in, right?
All right. We got a bunch of lovely, fantastic emails. Thank you, everyone, to writing into the show. We'll read 2 more. First or second and last one comes from Jeff from Rhode Island. Hey, dudes. What the fuck does shoot mean? I came back to the podcast after a small break and have been listening to you guys use the word shoot as an adjective and have no idea what it means. Anytime I think I figure it out with context clues, it's used in another context that confuses me again. Please help me. Jeff from Rhode Island.
You can watch the Jeff Jarrett voicemail dump truck where we talk about it. And he gave us his full blessing. Acclaim's Jeff Jarrett gave us his blessing to say shoot and work in other carny terms. Shoot
It's a
means,
straight shooter.
Shoot means real.
Yep. It's just like you're a
Work
straight
means
shooter.
fake.
So you are talking real. It means real. Yeah. It kind of just goes all up and down that like context. So it could just mean this thing is real, or it can mean I'm going to be real with you.
Yeah.
But it's
I'll shoot
always
with
in that
ya,
context
yeah.
of like a straight shooter. That's where the term comes from.
Yep. And if I'm working you, I'm putting on an act or I'm trolling you or yeah.
You know, like Sean uses shoot all the time now and stuff like
Mhm.
that. It
I
fully
was
has been
reading-
integrated with us.
I was reading Nikki Grayson's newsletter and they use shoot in it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It's just
I want
how
to
we talk now.
permeate. Yes.
Yeah, when I was going into the office to help with like the studio build and just hanging with the GameSpot crew, I was holding back, and then I decided, fuck this. No, I need to be a straight shooter here, and I'm happy that I don't have to code switch anymore amongst my
Mhm.
coworkers.
Yeah. There you go.
I can live how I want to live. All right, last email of the show comes from Pete. Pete writes in, "Hey Bombcast, in light of Dan's decision to rank Tony Hawk above Final Fantasy,
Not just me.
I wanted your thoughts on some more arbitrary comparisons. What's better, Donkey Kong 94 versus all Pokemon games?"
Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong 94.
Probably Donkey Kong 94. I don't know. Pokemon like Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and the black and white games are probably pretty close.
Well, I'm gonna say Pokemon. Metroid Prime versus Mario 64.
Mario 64.
This one's
Look-
very close.
Look, Metroid Prime
tough.
kicks ass, but it's Mario 64.
Yeah, I was just actually listening to where Metroid Prime got knocked off your bracket on the Fire Escape 100, and I was a bit sad it didn't go a little further.
Remember what it got knocked off by?
I can't remember. Gosh, there's a lot of games that get talked about in that thing.
Yeah.
I did remember thinking, like, because Jeff and I did a similar thing, figuring out what the best video game ever was. I think we decided on Super Metroid. I don't even think that was on, like, your bracket at all.
I tried.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
It's tough for me. Let's just try it. I'm gonna say Metroid Prime and see if that feels right to me. I'm gonna say Metroid Prime.
This
I
one
mean,
is
it's not like
very-
a crazy thing. It's like
No,
Yeah, let
definitely
me
not.
look at my top 100. What did I say there?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have
I got the same
Metroid. I
thing.
have Metroid Prime right above Mario 64. I have Metroid Prime
Whoa.
at 7, Mario 64
Whoa.
at 8. So it's like as
Neck and neck.
close as it can be. But I guess I'll say Metroid Prime.
That's a tough one for me.
All right. Next comparison: ice cold drinks versus salt.
What the fuck?
Oh man,
I love salt so much.
I love both a lot.
Ice cold drinks.
But you need salt. Are we saying we
Salt.
can't have like? Oh
No. You're just saying which one is better. We're just saying.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I think it's salt. I think it's salt.
Wait, and they're saying ice cold. Oh, wait, it's ice/cold drinks. Shit, I was gonna say I could take just normal cold, not ice
Yeah,
cold.
just fine. Yeah, I don't even use. I never pour my drinks into a glass of ice. Honestly, like refrigerator cold is plenty cold.
But you can't
if
have
I
that.
have
No,
a 12 pack in the cabinet, but it's not like I don't have any sodas in the fridge, then I will pour some into ice. But I won't. drink it.
Yeah, but like
We're not
salt
saying
has
you can't
saved
have it.
so much mid food for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
does.
I
It
mean,
does.
I would probably like if it were a situation where I could only have one or the other, I probably would regret going with cold because salt you
I'm gonna
just
say
need
salt.
it in food.
You need salt. I'm going with salt.
Yeah. Okay. Now we have a couple comparisons as what's worse: a paper cut or stubbing your toe.
Paper cut.
Paper cut.
No
I
doubt.
I would rather watch a character in a movie get their arm ripped off than watch them get a
Yeah.
paper cut.
Yeah, I've been thinking
Yeah.
about that the wrestler thing since you brought it up with Mickey Rourke, the deli scene.
Oh, that's and that plays in my head and it
yeah.
terrifies me every time it
Yep.
does.
I stub my toe 8 times a day,
Yeah.
and it's just fine. I'm mad for 2 seconds, but then like a paper cut is just like
That's the thing
I'll
about
be
stubbing the
thinking about
toe.
that for a bit.
It's like like for me, it's like I'll stub my toe and it's like so much pain for like a handful of seconds, and then it's like wow, that just doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm like used to that now.
Yep.
So yeah, and paper cut, it's like once you have it, you notice it, and it's like there, and it like stays with you, even if it doesn't hurt as much
Yeah.
anymore. It still feels
If you bend your
bad and
finger, if
wrong.
it's on your finger, you feel it every time
Yeah.
you bend. Yeah, it sucks.
I feel like I can stomach most of the jackass shenanigans from the movies and the show, except when they did the paper cut bit.
That sucked.
Oh.
I did hate that. Yeah.
All right, continuing. What's worse, getting 3 hours of sleep or being hungover?
I mean, a lot of times it's both, because like if you're hungover, it means you've been out late, like at the bars and stuff. And it's like, oh shit, I got to set an alarm for 9 o'clock tomorrow, and it's like that's the worst.
Yeah,
I think
being
being hungover is
hungover
the worst.
sticks with you a little longer though.
Yeah.
Being hungover, like it's worse now. Like when I was younger, being hungover sucked. Like now, being hungover is devastating.
Yeah,
My
but
whole
same
body
with 3
can't
hours of
handle it.
sleep, right? Like
3 hours of sleep is
was a
more
lot
of a
worse.
lazy, sleepy thing,
It's
whereas like a hangover
Yeah,
is
no,
like a
I know,
misery.
but it's worse now than it was when I was in
It
my
is
20s.
worse now, but
Yeah.
it's still not
Sure.
as bad as being.
No,
hungover.
I agree. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, because I think 3 hours of sleep is still 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
It's like when your health bar in a game is like reduced down.
Yeah,
you
where
haven't
the
actively
maximum
damaged
lowers.
yourself. You're just
Yeah.
like, your stamina bar could use a recharge. Yeah.
Yeah, being hungover is like, oh, you're debuffed for a while, and it's mysterious.
Sucks. Yeah.
All right, what's worse, Metal Gear Solid 4, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword?
Ooh. Oh, Dan's looking very. Oh, Dan's not upset. Dan is very upset that I have to think about this. They're two kind of like lesser entries in their very good franchises. Let's be clear. They are. They're both still good. They're both still good. But anybody who's like, this is my favorite one in that series, even you wouldn't, Dan. You would never say Metal Gear Solid 4 is your favorite.
Catch
That'd be insane.
catch me on the right day. I might.
Weird day. That's a weird day.
What?
Skyward Sword has very good dungeons. It has very good dungeons.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
fun.
liked the motion controls.
Skyward Sword got a 10 from Game Informer while I was there.
That's a little high. That's a
Yeah.
little high.
You think?
But Metal Gear,
Okay.
I'm not going to answer. You know the answer.
yeah, Metal Gear Solid 4 is. I wish there was twice as many gameplay sequences in it as there are. It's not even that I think there's too much story, whatever. Like, I can be into it's a goofy story. I think the end stuff works. I just wish it was buffered with more gameplay segments. It does not look great, right? It's one of those games that, in that PS3 era, they're pushing a lot of things. It was very ambitious, and the PS3 is sort of struggling to keep up in a lot of ways. Jeff, what do you think?
I've never played Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh, that's right. Am I the only other person here who's played both of these games to completion?
I
Yeah.
haven't completed Skyward Sword,
I definitely have beaten both.
and I did not like Skyward Sword.
It's
I-
the second. Wait, I think it's the worst Zelda. Yeah, I think I decided. No,
It's better
second
than
worst.
the
Spirit
DS
Tracks. Spirit
ones.
Tracks. Nope, DS ones are middle of the pack. They're both better than Link's Awakening. No, wait, no, I'm sorry. No, Spirit Tracks is the worst one. Phantom Hourglass is like middle of the pack.
Yeah, they're probably both on the bottom of mine. I think that they're both fine. They're probably close. I'll go ahead and say, if you ask me right now, I'd probably rather play Metal Gear Solid 4.
Okay. All right. That about does it for emails this week. Bombcast@giantbomb.com is the email address to send your lovely emails to. Thank you so much for everyone for writing into the show. I deeply appreciate it, and I'm rescuing them out of the spam folder. Actually, you know what? I believe in rehabilitation. I believe that in second chances.
Restorative justice.
Exactly. Grading for equity. I'm gonna extend this to you, Travis. And don't you break my heart.
Scott?
Don't you do this to me, Travis. Instead of reading your rapid fire emails, we're gonna read one of them. And if I hear through the podcast jungle that one of your emails has made it to another video game podcast, that's it. We're done. All right. You don't get a second chance like Corey did after he kissed Lauren in the ski lodge in Boy Meets World. All right. Topanga, that was very high of her to do that. All right.
Natalie Portman's a porn actress, right?
Yes.
Okay. I was just making sure. I'm like, that name sounds familiar.
I didn't know that.
Travis writes in, Travis from Fargo. What dessert do you always have room for? With love, Travis and Fargo.
Anything cookies and cream.
Oh, good call.
It's not the flavor. It's because so many desserts are too filling and they give you too much of them. And I already just ate a meal. Like, I like cheesecake, but I can never eat a whole cheesecake. Creme brulee, though. Creme brulee, I always got a little room for creme brulee, that nice little cracker sugar thing on top, that nice little smooth custard. It's not too filling. It's never too big of a portion. I don't usually get dessert, but I'm on vacations, where they'll usually have a creme brulee on the menu. I'll get a creme brulee so I can sit here and enjoy myself longer.
I just don't like how the crust sticks to my teeth sometimes.
Oh, it's a little sticky, but that's okay. Because like that brown, like where the sugar gets burnt a bit, that's such a good flavor. That burned sugar flavor. Ooh, love it.
I like this comment when Mike said creme brulee. We just got a comment that says rich ass motherfucker.
Oh, come on.
God, he is the 1%er.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry that I said a French word.
Yeah, that's definitely.
With the Mike Mahardy of the Giant Bombcast.
I always have room for pumpkin pie. That's
That's a real salt of the earth dessert right there.
Yeah.
I do have
goddamn
to admit.
right. Just give me one of them gourds. Yeah.
I'm going to grab 2 of those free mints on the way out the door.
Wait, what's like a chocolate mousse? Is that just a way of saying it's like kind of like a whipped dessert or whatever?
It's like fancy pudding.
That's like basically eating air, so I probably always have room for that.
Tiramisu.
Oh, I haven't had a tiramisu in a while with some good lady fingers in there. Holy shit.
Let's get a tiramisu, baby. All right. Bombcast@giantbomb.com is the email address. Travis, don't make me regret this. All right. I'm looking and I'm talking to you right now. Okay. This week on the website, we're going to continue streaming pretty much around the clock, nonstop, just blocks of programming. So stay tuned to giantbomb.com, as well as GameSpot's YouTube, GameSpot's Twitch, as well as our Twitch and our YouTube. Game Mess Morning, soon to be renamed, popping off for the rest of the week. Correct, Grub?
That's right. We'll be back for the rest of the week. And remember the new time, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
Yes, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for the rest of the week. We're going to have another Grub block. And then tomorrow, Jeff Grubb, you're going to beat it, right?
You're going to beat it.
I'll beat it. Yeah, I'm going to beat it for everybody tomorrow. Absolutely.
The finale of Flight Club.
Blues
tomorrow.
Brothers 2000 will be out of my life unless I decide to speed run it, which would be an insane thing to do.
Why would you do that?
Who would you do that?
Yeah.
Who would you do that? Who would do that?
Who could never be sure?
And then voicemail dump truck. I believe Tam and Lucy are going to be playing through a little bit of Spliction on Thursday.
Yep. That should be at like 10 Pacific a.m.
I believe
Yes.
so. That's what this calendar
Lucy's
says.
got to play as the British lady, right?
Both of them
Wow,
could play as the
pigeonhole.
British person?
No, but
Are they siblings?
No.
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 Okay.
When the
Well, they're
Lucy?
named
No.
after
I haven't played the
siblings,
game, guys. I just
but
assumed
yeah.
they were sisters.
No,
No.
they're not. They don't
No,
even
no.
know or like each other. No.
Oh.
Remember, one's a big city girl, and the other one's a country gal.
Yeah, but they do that with sisters every once in a while. Yeah.
Right. I've seen The Parent Trap.
Yeah. See.
We're going to have a power bombcast to discuss the fallout of the Elimination Chamber and all the other stuff that's probably going to pop off this week. UPF still up in the air as to what we're playing, but there is a tentative thing.
I might be able to confirm here. I do have WWE 2K25, and it will be out on Friday, so I could stream some of that. And
I will. I'll have it by then as well. Maybe we could do some multiplayer.
I would like to. Yeah, let's check out some of the single player stuff. Then we'll do some matches against each other.
Yes. And then after that, to cap off the Friday, the GameSpot crew will be doing a live episode of GameSpot After Dark. We may have some of the GameSpot homies popping off on GB stuff throughout the week as well. If you're watching and listening live to the podcast, stay tuned. Shortly, Tom is going to pick up and play through some GTA 5 stuff.
At the PC Enhanced Edition.
PC
it's out now.
Yes.
Enhanced Edition. Folks, you all get 7 podcast points today.
Ooh.
I want 8.
Mike,
I did that. I rap on the spot. It was pretty
Take it
good.
away.
I got a bunch for something, but yeah.
Mike,
Points away from him.
Oh, I got it for knowing symbolism.
-8 podcast points. This is what you get for demanding from.
You didn't even say please.
Yeah.
No.
You,
No,
How many
JD
times?
Vance.
How many times have you said? Thank you.
I'll
Wow,
say
you really
this,
are from Ohio.
I don't mind getting
That's right.
political.
You wear a
want-
Mega Man shirt to this podcast?
Yeah.
It's a Mega
Where's
Man.
your suit?
It's a Mega Man Disney shirt. Isn't it perfect for me?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, basically it's a suit then. Never mind.
Yeah.
To update the podcast point standings, we are all net positive. JD Vance, Travis Scott, obliterated.
It sucks
negative.
you can't say please anymore. That's bad.
What a dweeb. And we don't. Giant Bomb is a welcoming place except to dweebs like that. So,
No dweebs
folks,
here.
no dweebs, not a nerd. Folks, we'll see you next week for another episode of the Giant Bombcast. He's been Mike, he's been Dan, he's been Jeff, I've been Jan, and you at home have been doing work. Go drink some water today. What are you doing? It's only been 1 glass. I love you. Goodbye. We'll see you. Stay tuned. We're singing going live. New art soon. Goodbye. All right, let's pull up them audio recording softwares.
Yeah.
Goodbye, YouTube. I'm killing the Switch now.
Hi.
All right. Yep. Still recording. That's